All right.
Fiber's limited.
All right, everybody, get this meeting going. Okay, call the meeting to order, 7:10. Roll call, please.
Brian Card,
Here.
Norm Farren,
Present.
Michael Huco,
Here.
John Sarantopoulos,
Here.
Lorraine Lagarde, and Keith Thurlow.
Yeah. And no alternates to be seated. Any addendums to be added?
No addendums.
All right, Brian, you want to read this?
All right, thank you for attending the 7 o'clock P&Z regular meeting. Just want to make a few announcements. Please note that there are no public hearings on tonight's agenda. Public comments is the only place individuals will be allowed to speak regarding any application before the commission. As this agenda is rather lengthy, we will adhere to the following requirements that are in our bylaws. If you have already stated your opinion on an active application, there is no need to repeat your opinion tonight as it's on the record. We also want to note that we have received a number of written statements. The commission members have received copies of them all. However, due to the length of our agenda, time does not permit reading them all out loud, and it is not necessary as they are found in their entirety on the town's website. As stated on the agenda, we will follow the aggregate time frame of 21 minutes. There will be no extension of time, as the agenda is quite lengthy and we must, in all fairness, give the applicants time to present their applications and hear from our third-party consultant. Thank you.
All right. Citizens' comments on items not subject to public hearings. Individual presentations not to exceed 3 minutes, limited to an aggregate of 21 minutes, or otherwise indicated by a majority vote of the commission. Public comments can be emailed to publiccomment@killenlyct.gov or mailed to the Town of Killenly, 172 Main Street, Killenly, Connecticut. All public comment must be received prior to 2 p.m. the day of the meeting. Public comment received will be posted on the town's website. As this is a hybrid meeting, citizens can participate in the citizens' comment by WebEx, join by phone 415-655-0001, access code 2861-605-3533. Okay, so we can orderly one at a time for a comment, public comment at this point in time. When you come up to the podium for public comment, make your name and your address, please.
Hello. My name is Amber Wells. I live at 15 Quinnebog Drive. I oppose the warehouse and distribution centers being proposed on 90 Putnam Pike and 228 Westcott Road. We need to protect our wetlands. Wetlands are a natural CO2 sink. Without it, the air pollution and water pollution will be severe. There is evidence of that. These projects will simply ruin what Killenly stands for. I don't understand how the town will allow the destruction of something it prides itself for, the last Green Valley. The neighborhoods will be affected. Futures people came for, a quiet and green future, will be ruined. These projects the town approved while skipping crucial steps is an insult to the community. I asked the town to stop the projects. You didn't ask how it'll affect your community because of the special permit, and it seems like you didn't consider public health and safety if I understand your previous comments. I ask this, listen to the community you're meant to represent. Protect the last Green Valley before it's too late. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Adam Knupp. I live at 180 Cook Hill Road. I want to thank everyone, members of the commission, for giving us an opportunity to speak briefly. My question for the commission is, what role do you play in enforcing federal and state antiquities acts? The Husky project proposed abuts Mashantuck Road, which is historically known to be a Native American area of sensitivity. Known specifically for Mashantuck Mountain and Mashantuck Hill being clay reserves they use to make pottery. This is a sensitive area, especially a sensitive subject within this town with recent mascot discussion and changing. So I think this is very pertinent, as well as another question I have It was previously stated in the last meeting that a property owner has the right to develop their property within the zoning laws of the town it was purchased in. To the best of my knowledge, the sale for the property for this project has not yet been finalized. So is those same rights afforded to someone applying that doesn't own the property? So I propose that to the committee and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Could I get your name and address again, please? I'm sorry.
Adam Knupp, I live at 180 Cook Hill Road. Last
Thank
name
you.
is spelled K-N-U-P-P. Thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret Weaver. I live on 39 Stevens Street in Danielson. I would support a business park usage for this property, not a distribution center. And I'm going to list several reasons why. I'm concerned about the increased traffic by trucks and employees, the environmental impact to groundwater and animals, and the additional pollutants transmitted to the asthmatic children just 2 blocks away, as well as the nursing homes that are in that area. With the highest asthma rate in the state, and I looked this up on the Connecticut Health Department, the average asthma statistics for Connecticut are 7.9%. The asthma rate in Killingly is 15.5%, more than double, about double. I'm concerned that a zoning change or a special permit would let Killingly residents know that zoning doesn't mean anything in this town. If you keep making exceptions, then they can't guarantee that their property is going to be protected. The message to residents of Killingly is if you have money, you can make rules in this town. Recently, as I was attempting to get on Route 395, I was confronted by 5 tractor trailers prohibiting me from getting onto the highway. 2 were in the passing lane, 3 were in the regular driving lane, and I had to wait. I'm only thinking what would happen when additional tractor trailers are now coming out of our town onto 395. It's really frightening. We need to consider the safety of our residents. Should we zone a piece of property to allow more traffic congestion on 395? According to the State Department of Education website, Killingly stated that their school profile, that 67% of the graduates attend either 2 or 4-year colleges, 4% join the military. That's over 71% of our graduates choosing to enhance their skills and knowledge to look forward to a promising career. Working in a distribution center is probably not their ideal. These students would hardly, those that are left, that's 29% of the, or about 48 students from our high school each year. These would be used to satisfy any workers in these distribution centers, because I don't think our others are going to come back. We have an obligation to offer diverse employment in our town, and the environment in the Economic Development Committee in Killingly needs to start looking at bringing in higher paying jobs and higher and better opportunities for these kids, so that we don't see them moving out of the area. Should the town glean additional tax dollars from the distribution center and employee home purchases, it needs to be considered how much it will cost to educate additional workforce children. The cost would increase over the current tuition rate, and some may need ESL and special education supports. In 2003, when the distribution center was proposed, the proponents claimed that Killingly would glean $10 million in taxes over 10 years, according to the information I received at my home. It would cost the town an additional $18 million to, at that current tuition rate, and that would cause a net loss of $8 million. We need to look at what this is going to cost in the long run.
Ma'am, it's supposed to be 3 minutes. I'm sorry to say, but it's already
Okay.
almost 5.5
Well, I
minutes.
already sent this to you.
Okay.
I just wanted to let people that are here know that there are other concerns that you need to be aware of.
Okay, appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Angelina Wagner. I'm at 3 Providence Street in Putnam.
Oh.
You guys already have my position on both distribution centers and the moratorium, which is I'm in support of the moratorium and opposing the distribution centers. The one thing that I want to bring to the commission's attention is that in the previous meeting that we were just in, the people from this side of the room watched Anne Marie write on that notepad and slide it across to your lawyer like she was queuing up his talking points or telling him what he could or could not speak on. By no means am I saying this is what happened, but that is the perception that is being shown to your community, and it's eroding trust in that you guys are going to show up for your community like you're supposed to versus for corporations. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Rosenstone-Laro. I live on 156 Pond Road. And I was wondering that, you're looking at all these proposals, how much is it going to cost to support this? And what are you going to do about it? Recently, on the news, they just talked about the tractor-trailer collisions on the highways with cars. There are many, many blind spots on a trailer. About a car length in the front of it. On each side, there are dead spots for trucks. Now, some of the trucks do have small mirrors that copy these blind spots, but the community doesn't know about that. I didn't know about that. And the amount of accidents that are happening are raising in Connecticut with tractor-trailer trucks. So I'm asking you, if this goes through, how are you going to educate the town how to deal with the tractor trailers? Are you going to show a video? I'm sure they're out there, and have it on the town so that people can see how they can work around tractor trailers and move on 395. This is something that needs to be addressed, as well as other costs that's going to happen, water runoff and things of that nature. It's a sad sight, and I'm sorry that this has to happen. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Justin Fisher, 94 Dam Road, Old Killingley Pond. I just want to do a quick little talking point. Raise the hands of everybody who has a drinking well on your property in Killingley, right? All right, so for everybody here, the hands that are in the air, we will be seeing you guys every day at Stop and Shop, Big Y, Aldi's, wherever you shop. As you can see, the suits in the front here did not. They will not answer for what will happen in 5 years from now. They will be gone. Your opinion matters to the people who you will see. Dave, I just saw you at Stop and Shop the other day, brother. Our faces, we will see each other. We have to live next to each other. This isn't Burger King where I have the option to choose a Big Mac or a rodeo burger or whatever for my public health. The public health is our drinking water, and this will affect it. It'll affect everybody's here. There's a horrible comparison, and thank you for calling that out. I have the option to choose a Big Mac or a Whopper if I want to stuff that down my belly. I don't have an option for this. You guys do. Thank you.
Ulatique Barclay, 26 Dark Lantern Hill Road. I'm here as a resident and also as a 3rd District Council representing my constituents. Just a few comments. The people are at the top of the chain of command in Killingley. I've stated this several times. They vote for the town council. The planning and zoning commissioners are appointed by the town council. They are here to do the will of the people. The people are at the top of the chain of command. Another comment in regards to Lorraine Lagarde. Attorneys make opinions. One attorney may have another opinion of another attorney, just like Supreme Court justices make opinions, and one's opinion may vary. So that would be in regards to the plan of conservation and development. That is just not something to look over. as it has been added to one of our planning and zoning regulations, that it is just a guide. It is not just a guide, you have to try to abide by it. And this is in regards to failure of packaged sanitation plants. Nobody has really addressed that. They're more prone to issues than large municipal plants because of their small size, variable loads, limited buffering capacity, and limited operator expertise. Poor maintenance and operation causes their failure. There's a list of many things: overloading of hydraulic shocks, sudden surges in flow from storms and peak usage. Small plants have little capacity to handle variations, which leads to incomplete treatments of sludge overflow or bypass of untreated sewage, which leads to the pollution of the groundwater, soil, and the headwaters that lead to all of our clean drinking water. I'll have to go through this quickly. Equipment breakdown, influent quality problems. Packaged plants have problems with ammonia and nitrogen removal and bacterial disinfection. And the consequences of these failure are environmental harm. Untreated or partially treated effluent discharges high levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, organics, and pathogens into rivers, groundwater, and soil. They're at the top of a mountain. All of that water is going to drain into our drinking water, the water that we're trying to protect, our aquifers. Health and regulatory risks. Operation issues, foul odors. Somebody had asked about that. We are assured there would be no foul odors. Overflow, high maintenance costs, incomplete system downtime. Failures of systems in Massachusetts. Coldbrook Crossing, Beaverbrook Wastewater Treatment Plant, Barnstable Water Treatment Plant, Plymouth Water and Treatment Plant, Cape Cod. These are all systems that are the package plants with failures. There's failures all over the country. There's failures all over Europe. Failures related to installation on ledge. Failures related to installation on ledge are a common issue for packaged water treatment plants, especially in rocky regions like New England. We are in New England. That distribution plant is slated to go on ledge with a lot of dynamiting. Failures often stem from full system when they're installed on or near ledge. Ledge has insufficient soil depth, treatment failure. The lists go on and on. So this package plant needs to be really studied, what type of a package plant is going to go on, because it is going to be on ledge. If it's in ledge and there's been dynamiting, it causes cracks in the ledge, and that the water seeps in there, untreated water, and where does it end up? It ends up in our clean drinking water that will be no longer clean or consumable. Water is a precious resource. Thank you.
21 minutes? I figure it's 5 minutes, right?
Lynn Geiger, Briarwood Falls. I just have questions.
What's your name again, please?
Lynn Geiger, Geiger. Number one, the wastewater. I guess the anticipated flows for the state is no greater, is 7,500 gallons per day. And this is stated that the sanitary waste will be greater, and the state has to approve it. Well, how much greater? Because how much greater? Number two, right at this point, the requirements for this land is 645 parking spaces and 33 loading spaces. They want exceptions, of course. They want the application exceeds that and proposes 930 car parking spaces and 60 loading spaces. Also, the applicant proposes 430 trailer parking spaces. I mean, it's out of the boundaries already of what's on the books. Is the septic pretreatment tank above or below the ground? I'd like answers to all of these, please. Also, I found that a construction sequence phase 2 discusses a parking garage. I didn't know there was a phase two until I go blind reading what's in all of this paperwork. People are not being honest here. You have to seek and seek information, and that's not right. This thing is like the old saying, it's a square block putting it in a round hole, and it doesn't belong here. Thank you.
Hi, Diana Weber, Mashantuck Road. I'd kind of like to piggyback on what she said too, is about this black box that we don't know about. So you're making decisions on things we don't know. So I don't know if that's through non-disclosures or what, but it's like it's forever changing. You know, Ryan was going to come in, they were going to build it, and then they were going to lease it. Now it's appearing for sale because they just want to get out of Killingly because the people are not happy. And it's just going to be as many meetings as you'll allow, we're going to turn up for. And it's like it's not even the end product, it even is the construction of. You know, so that's a lot of these e-commerce, which was the first time I saw that in the reports on the town website, are 24/7. There's not a first and second shift, it's 24/7. And most of those projects are allowed 24/7 construction as well, with zero limitations, really, because they're already like embedded in the town councils and, you know, they're gonna pretty much get what they want. But what we don't know is what are we gonna get? Like, they haven't even tried to sell it to us on any level, because there are no benefits for us. And it's like, it's not like they're coming in here and sitting at the table and saying, we're gonna give you jobs, we're gonna give you a center, we're gonna do this, we're gonna resurface all of your roads, we're gonna put up lights, we're gonna do, none of that. It's like, we don't matter. And the town attorney literally said that tonight. He literally insulted everyone in this room tonight by saying, we don't matter. If they've dotted their I's and crossed their T's, then we have to pass it. You have to pass it. You're bound to pass this, was my understanding from what was said tonight. So, you know, like, some of us don't have long on this earth. You know, so the time we do have isn't going to be spent listening to the birds and watching the wildlife and this and that, and our homes that we pay taxes on in Killingly. It's going to be spent listening to 24/7 construction, trucks in and out all the time, you know, and it's like, I'm not against progress, and by any means, like, there's something was approved near me on Mashantuck Road and all day long from 8 o'clock this morning, dump trucks. That's okay, that's great, that's progress. This is not progress, this is destruction, and this is really, really bad for Killingly.
Hi, my name is Sam Darenthal. I'm actually at 47 Highland Street in Plainfield. I am here tonight because we have a bigger problem than just Killingly, and I think I saw the moratorium on the agenda, and you all have a really hard job because I know that if it goes in front of you, you have to say yes. If it meets all the regulations, you have to. We heard that tonight. We hear that in Plainfield. We hear that in Thompson. We hear it in Putnam. We hear it in Sterling. We hear it, and we know that the laws work the way they work. You have an opportunity tonight to have a moratorium for a year or vote on it and discuss it. You could be the leaders of this. You could be the leaders of the quiet corner to put a moratorium in place. Then Plainfield follows, then Putnam follows, and I'm not speaking for them, but I'm just saying an idea where everyone puts a moratorium for a year, we all get together and say, what kind of economic development do we want in the quiet corner on the 395 corridor that we all grew because we all moved to because we wanted easy access to Worcester, to Hartford, to Providence. We wanted this, but yet we wanted to live in a way where we could go outside and listen to the birds. And I look up at the sky and I see the lights. I lived in Chicago for 5 years. There were no stars. So when I look up, I want to be able to see those. And I don't want a gasification plant. I don't want another warehouse. I want economic development that meets the diverse community that we have. And so you have a really great opportunity here to say, hey, let's hold on a minute. Let's get together as a quiet corner, as districts, as these communities, as neighbors, as friends, and decide how we want the economic development to come to our towns. Because I don't think these people are bad. I think they're probably good people. They don't go home and swim in their coins like Mr. Duck McScrooge or whatever his name is. Scrooge McDuck, thank you. I think they're doing a job, and they have a goal, and that's great. And they have a lot of money and a lot of power to do that. And you have a lot of power too. We have a lot of power. We have a lot of power. Thank you.
Miss, name?
Anybody else want to talk to you?
No, that's it. I think we're 21 minutes is up. So.
First Amendment, right, we have to be able to make motions to
Okay.
then we have to continue it. Can we get a motion to continue if we can't all speak now?
Unfinished business, site plan review application, CBD 12, number 26-1363, CBD Killenly LLC applicant, 550 Hartford Pike, GIS map 114, lot 40, 1.87 acres VC, request to add 4 additional parking spaces, continued from March 16th.
At the March 16th meeting, I think it was Mr. Cord that requested that we have an input from the town's engineer. You have a copy of the town engineer's input. It was an email. And he said that out of the 4 parking spaces, he believed that the western side would cause a problem backing into the drive-through lane. I would prefer that this one not be installed. And that was from David Capascione, our engineer. So the applicant did present a new site plan with only 3 parking spaces, and I believe the applicant is on. There he is right there.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay, great. For the record, Luke Morrow. I'm an engineer with Soli Engineering, office in Monroe, Connecticut, representing the applicant CBD Killenly LLC. I think Anne Marie kind of summarized the update since our last meeting, but I did send the plan over to Dave Cap regarding the 4 parking spaces. He was slightly concerned with the site distance backing up because I think the transformer and there's a dumpster enclosure kind of in that area, so it's a little bit of a blind corner in his opinion. So his opinion was that that one probably shouldn't be installed on the west side of the site, but it sounded like he didn't have any issues with the installation of the other 3 parking spaces, so the one in the northeast corner and then the 2 behind the building. So again, we're here tonight for approval just to install those 3 additional parking spaces. Again, the center is doing better than expected, so the developer was just looking to see if he could put in some additional parking spaces to alleviate some of that parking demand. Obviously, there's not too much we can do because we're close to impervious coverage requirements. We're close to parking setback and driveway setback lines to the rear property line, but we did find 3 spaces where we can, with minimal work to affecting the drainage patterns and other infrastructure on site, where we can install those 3 parking spaces. So if the commission so feels, we would request approval to install these 3 parking spaces. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
You did mention those 3 parking spots would be for employees, right?
They're not signed to be for employees, but I would say logically speaking, we expect employees would be using them because they're probably the least desirable of the
Can-
spaces on the site. So they weren't meant to be signed for employee spaces, but our assumption is that they would be used for employees.
Would it hurt to sign them for employees only?
If that would appease the commission for approval, then I think I can agree to that, sure.
I'd like to see that.
Any other questions, commissioners?
So on your drawing 211 that you submitted, updated, you showed snow storage, but the last version from last month didn't show the snow storage, so it brought up a thought in my mind of how does this affect your overall snow storage, and are you moving it from the original application?
So we had shown snow storage kind of in
Right adjacent to the stormwater pond, right?
say again?
It's showing right adjacent to the stormwater pond at the inlet to the pond.
That's how it was shown on the initial application, in those similar areas.
All right.
There, and then, the thought would be this, right? We're over parked per code, so likely these 3 parking spaces in the winter, when the need arises, there would probably be the storage of snow in these spaces, because that's where the snow storage occurs presently, where it's landscaped. Granted, we had a really rough winter, so we don't anticipate 3 feet of snow again, but who can predict what's going to happen in the future? So while we have lawn areas as shown along the back, and I believe they were also shown along the western side of the site as part of the original site plan approval from a couple years back. But the thought would be, in the winter months, these 3 spaces, which are the least ideal spaces on site, they'd probably be used for snow storage, and then when in the summer months, then you would have the ability to use these 3 extra parking spaces when there's no need for snow storage, if that makes sense. Trying to utilize them as much as we can all year, but defer back to the point that, when snow does come down, those 3 spaces would probably be, defaulted back to snow storage as well.
Okay, and then my second question is, I noticed your coverage percentage went up, you're now at 59.4. What was the original? And then did you evaluate any stormwater concerns?
The stormwater coverage, I think, went up about 0.1% or so. It's within, it's either a 0.1% or a fraction of a percent. So I believe the original was about 59.3. It might have been 59.4 based on rounding as well. But with the increase in coverage, we don't anticipate any, any issues with the existing stormwater infrastructure to work as intended. There's still a treatment device that's treating water, and the ponds are sized so that the minor increase in impervious area shouldn't affect or cause any failure in existing systems.
All right, no more.
I got a question. When this application came before us originally, my recollection is telling me that you were showed where, and actually I think in the other previous print, where a tractor trailer could go around your building, if I'm not mistaken, on the original application.
It was not shown designed for a tractor trailer. I believe we showed for a fire truck movement around the building, and we had shown for like a box truck movement around the building. And I know this question came up, at the last meeting. The site was designed for a box truck movement around the site. It was relayed to the tenants, as far as I'm aware, that it was meant to be designed for fire truck access around the site and also for larger box trucks traverse the site. We did not give an indication that it was going to be designed to handle full-size tractor trailer. We did discuss this with the developer who owns the property to see if there was some way that they could enforce the ability of their tenants to only use box trucks for deliveries instead of full-size tractor trailers. Unfortunately, when they look through their leasing documents and the other legal documentation, the contracts that are signed, it appears they don't have the ability to do that. So the original, I can tell you, because I worked on this, 3 years ago when we first did this, it was not designed for full-size tractor trailer. It was designed for a box truck and for fire truck access around.
Well, that's funny, because I swear I remember somebody saying that. And now we got trucks that back into the street, back off the street to get in there, and it's a parking lot nightmare. Having driven through it myself, trying to get around that building. And so now these two parts, the question was asked at the last meeting about whether that parking spots would be help with the adequacy of having a tractor trailer drive around there, and the statement was that it would not help in any way. So you're sticking by that, is that true?
Yeah, the way these are, and I apologize, I thought I had my share screen on, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully that pops up, everyone can see
It is, you can see it.
The way the parking spots are designed, in order, and I know the request was to widen the back drive to provide a third lane for a tractor trailer, or a larger truck, if you will, to kind of get around and get out. But you can see here, this is the setback line. We'll call it the pavement setback line. It's basically the parking, the parking and the drive aisle setback line. So extending that curb cut, or extending that curb line back an additional 10 to 12 feet for a third lane, you could see we would have issues because we'd have to cross over the required pavement setback area, and we'd also have problems with going over what's permitted in terms of the maximum impervious coverage. So the ability to add that third lane, it would have to extend all the way back to where my mouse is over here in the northeast corner, and we couldn't do that without multiple variances, on the property, because there's not the pavement, there's not ability to do that because of the proximity of the property line, and also based on the impervious coverage that would result by the addition of all that pavement. So what I was saying was the addition of this bump out area for these two additional parking spots wouldn't be wouldn't be set in a location where a truck coming around would be able to use them, because they would have to be located further east and closer to this radius as you come around the corner of the building. So I don't see how a truck would be utilizing those two parking spaces. However, in that same vein, they should be protected from any large truck movements around the back of the building in terms of, the safety for vehicles being able to park there and not be, struck by a truck trying to get back.
So let me ask you, the snow area, what material is on that surface?
So this is lawn area here, and then these would be asphalt paved parking spaces.
So the snow area is gonna be lawn? Is that what you
The
said?
snow area is lawn currently.
But it's
It's
gonna
just-
be lawn, or is it gonna,
Well, in the area where we're proposing to put the two parking spaces, that would just be a swap of lawn for asphalt pavement.
I'm not asking about the two parking places, I'm asking about the snow area.
The snow area here is lawn.
And it's gonna stay lawn?
That's correct.
Because I thought I heard a statement a little ago that the vehicles could actually park there in the summertime. Didn't you say that earlier?
What I'm saying is, if we had a rough winter where we got a lot of snow, and if the lawn area wasn't sufficient for snow storage, when we got like 3 feet of snow like this past year, then these would be likely used for snow storage as overflow, if we got an abundance of snow like we had over this past winter.
But am I mistaken that you said that you could park there in the summertime? Did I not hear that?
Well, the goal would be you could park here year-round. I was simply stating, in the event of a
You
large
didn't say that.
snow event, you would park on essentially the snow would be placed in the lawn areas. However, if a large amount of snow were to fall like it did over this past winter, then these would likely be used for snow storage. So in those winter months, it's possible you wouldn't have these spaces available if they were used for snow storage in that instance. However, the majority of the year, when snow is a non-issue, they would be used for what we'll call employee park. That makes sense. The intent is not to construct them for snow storage, but in the event a large snowfall event happens, these would be the first 2 spaces to be used for snow storage if the lawn area wasn't added, because it's being used for snow storage now.
Anybody else have any questions?
Did I misunderstand the 2 parking areas you were going to name for your employees? Is that correct?
I think the request from one of the commission members was, can we sign these as employee parking spaces? And I said, if the commission's amenable, we can do that.
So what would you do in the winter when there's no more parking space because it's for snow?
They would have to park somewhere else.
Okay.
Isn't that the problem?
It's overparked for code. Yeah, listen, the center is doing well. So the owner asked if there's any way we can squeeze some additional parking spaces in that could be used. Right now, there are 65 total parking spaces on the site, which is over the requirement of 63 that is required for code. So we were simply looking to try to find flat lawn areas that are currently used for snow storage now that could be used and paved for parking space, as vehicular parking spaces. In the case where snow falls and they're needed for snow storage, they'll be used for snow storage area. But that's the case as it is now. And the parking requirement, the parking provided, which is 65 spaces now, in the future, if these 3 spaces were to be installed and used for snow storage for a month or 2, you'd still have that same number of parking spaces that currently exists out there. In the summer, when the snow's not an issue, then you net 3 extra parking spaces to try to alleviate some of the strain because the center's doing better than expected.
Anybody else? John? Mike? Brian?
Just the last thing to note that a concern is anybody parking in those areas, they are going to have to exit into a travel lane to get to the sidewalk. So I don't see any way for them to get to the sidewalk to get to that crosswalk.
And so that with these additional spaces, you're still going to be under the coverage requirement?
Yes. We're under the coverage requirement by 0.6%.
So the 59.4 is with those spaces?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Staff, any other questions? Moving on next. Vote. Anybody have a motion they want to make?
Yeah, my motion is to deny application 261363. I don't think there's enough safety for the people getting out of the cars there to walk across. And I think it's eating up the snow storage area that was part of the original application.
Do I have a second? You can't. Anybody else want to second that? Anybody else want to second that?
Second.
Mike Hugo seconds it. Any further discussion on this application? Anybody?
Yeah. Seems to me, excuse me, it seems to me that there's a problem with parking, and by denying it, all we're doing is creating more of a situation that presently exists. It's what it is. The project was approved. Their business obviously is has exceeded what they originally thought. There's a possibility of putting a couple of additional spaces in there. But I was tempted to say that, turn it to staff along with the town engineer and try to come up with some sort of a solution. That's better than having people cross 101 to get to the facility because they're parking on the opposite side of the street. Or maybe they'd even try to park in Owen Bell Park in order to be there. So 2 additional are better than what the situation is. I think it should be approved.
Anybody else with discussion? Go ahead, Dylan.
Brian, could you explain that again about your safety concern with these spots?
Keith,
One of the criteria is to have a pedestrian walkway, right? And if you look at where these guys are getting out of the cars, they're getting into a travel lane. They're not getting out to a sidewalk, whereas the normal parking, they're walking right to the sidewalk and across. So again, and in order to get to the crosswalk, they're not walking on a pedestrian pathway, so. So I think those are 2 variances from the original application that don't sit well with me. And to answer John's concern, I think there are other methods that we may hear about later. So.
Say it again.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor, the second. Any further discussion on the motion? Somebody's gotta fix these mics.
Let's keep it.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Brian Card,
Yes.
Michael Huco,
Yes.
Norm Farren.
Yes.
I'm sorry, did I go too fast?
No, you're fine.
Okay. John Sarantopoulos
No.
and Keith Thurlow.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay. Would you introduce this? I gotta go outside for a minute. No, don't read it all, just introduce it, get it going.
Okay, site plan review application 26-1364, Ryan Companies US Incorporated, property address 228 Westcott Road. Construction of a new warehousing and distribution center totaling 1,288,220 plus or minus square feet on a 556 plus or minus acre assemblage, consisting of 340 plus or minus acres for development, the project site, which includes a 76 plus or minus acre conservation easement and 216 plus or minus acres proposed to be deleted to the town of conservation. Project includes associated landscaping, stormwater drainage improvements, utilities, drive aisles, surface parking, loading spaces, located between I-395 Westcott Road and Mashantucket Road, multiple parcels in the Business Park District. The parcels are listed on the agenda. I don't need to read those into the announcement, but they're on the agenda, so they're part of the record. Note the parcels that are part of the transfer of land to the town for conservation and perpetuity are in the Rural Development District. This was continued from March 16th. We have the applicant presentation and third-party reviewer report. Please just remember mics, one on, one off, because we're having issues.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Tom Cody. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Robinson & Cole. Our office is located in Hartford at 1 State Street. And I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Ryan Companies US Incorporated. Ryan is a nationally recognized developer with considerable experience in the warehouse and distribution center sector. With us this evening is Dustin Curran, who is a director of real estate development for Ryan. He is the project manager for this project, and also here this evening from Ryan is Andy Moffett, vice president of development. Winstanley Enterprises has also been actively involved in this project. Winstanley is a leading New England-based commercial real estate developer with offices in New Haven and Windsor, Connecticut. Winstanley's been working for the past several years with the various owners of the land involved in this project And the Winstanley team has overseen extensive field work of the existing conditions at the property, including coordinating survey, title work, wetlands and watercourses investigations, utilities and traffic engineering services. Winstanley's lead on this has been their Senior Vice President and Director of Construction, Ted DeSantos. So it was Winstanley's early work doing investigation of this site and some early planning that led to Ryan Companies coming on board and further assembling a professional team to design the specific project for this site. Now, in addition to the site plan application that's before you this evening, Ryan has also submitted an application for an inland wetlands permit. That application had a public hearing opened on March the 2nd with the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. It was continued to April 6th and has been continued also to May 11th. As part of the review process of the wetland permit application, the IWWC referred the application to a third-party reviewer. The commission selected the firm of Ty and Bond to do that review, and Ty and Bond prepared a comprehensive review of the application with a number of comments and questions. The applicant has carefully gone through that and prepared a very comprehensive response, which was just transmitted today to town staff and also back to Ty and Bond. So this evening, we note that this commission has also made a referral to the same third-party reviewer, Ty and Bond. Ty and Bond has, as they did with the Wetland Commission, they have prepared an independent review of the site plan, and we are now in the process of going through all of their comments. And just as we did with the Wetlands Commission and that review, we will be submitting in short order a comprehensive response to the Ty and Bond review for the site plan application. This evening, we will have a PowerPoint presentation, which has been queued up on the screens. We have provided the commission members with a printout of that just for your convenience. We've also transmitted that electronically to the town so that it can be posted on the town website and available for all at the public to read that. So at this point, what I'd like to do is provide a little bit of context for the project and the project site before we dive into a more technical part of our presentation. So starting again with site context, here is an excerpt of the Killingly zoning map. And it really kind of focuses on the western half of the town and the I-395 corridor. And we simply show this to you to locate the project site on the zoning map. And at the very bottom of the map, that's roughly exit 37 off I-395 moving north. The green area, which we'll put a cursor on right there, that green area is the designation for the Business Park zoning district. It's located at exit 38, and that is the location of this application. Now, the BP zoning for the project site has been in place for a long time. The district permits a wide range of business and industrial land uses, all permitted as of right. These permitted uses include, as examples, manufacturing uses, office buildings, hotels, conference centers, retail stores, and many others. In addition, warehouse and distribution centers are also permitted as of right with site plan approval from this commission. And indeed, that is the land use that is proposed in this application. So turning to the next slide, this brings you to the project site. And the property that's included in the application is shown in the area that's bounded by the blue the dark blue line. North, for reference, north is generally to page left, and I-395 is running along the bottom of the screen. The project site is 340 acres in size, and it is an assemblage of 20 different parcels of land. The project site is located entirely within the Business Park zoning district, and there are no Level A or Level B aquifer protection areas located at the project site. The majority of the site is undeveloped, sort of running around in clockwise fashion starting at the bottom. You can see that would be the western side of the property. It is bounded, that entire western boundary is bounded by I-395. To the north and to the east is Hunt Club land. Also to the east is additional undeveloped land. And then at the south of the project street, you have Westcott Road and Stern Street. The site has direct street frontage on Westcott Road and Stern Street, and importantly, the site does not have any direct street frontage on either Mashantuck Road or Cook Hill Road. Now, this graphic also highlights an important piece of information, which is if you look to the east, which is moving up the sheet, there is an area bounded by a yellow line. That area is 216 acres of land that the applicant has proposed to donate to the town of Killingly for conservation and open space. And they've done this as a part of the inland wetland permit application. And the purpose of this conservation and open space area would be that it would be preserved and protected from future development. And no part of this site plan application proposes any activity on that 216 acres. So the point, and I guess the significance for this application is, with what we hope would be approval by the Inland Wetland Commission of that wetland application, you would then have a 216-acre conservation area immediately located to the east of the project site that would not only provide environmental benefits, but it would create additional, significant additional land use separation from the project site to residentially zoned properties further to the east on Mashantuck Road and Cook Hill Road. If this land is not protected, as we have proposed, then it would be subject to potential piecemeal development that could potentially have a far greater environmental impact as compared to the open space that's shown on that map. Now, the graphic also shows an area that is bounded in an orange line, and on the video it almost kind of looks like a violet color. Yeah, there it is. That's the area there we're showing you with the cursor. That is a 76-acre piece. It's within the project site, so it's within the 340 acres. But what we have proposed for that 76 acres is that it would also be protected from potential future development by placing a conservation easement on that area. And the reason for doing that is twofold. Number one, to protect important habitat, which we have described in great detail to the Wetland Commission, but it also, like the other conservation area, creates separation and a buffer to Mashantuck Road and other properties there to the east and to the southeast. So all totaled, these two areas amount to 292 acres of land that would be permanently protected from development. And that would be both a huge environmental benefit as well as creating additional land use separation from properties to the east. Now we turn to the next slide, please. This is an aerial photo of roughly the same area that you just saw on the last slide, but what we've done here is we have overlaid the site plan on top of it. Now we're going to get into more detail on the details of the site plan in just a few minutes, but I wanted to just point out a couple of items about this graphic. First of all, we have proposed the warehouse and distribution center use, which is a permitted use. We've taken great care to design the application to be in full compliance with all of the technical criteria contained in the zoning regulations. And we believe that our site plan application kind of goes through that item by item. The graphic also highlights another real key advantage to this plan, which is that you can see down in the bottom right portion of the image the two driveways that are proposed to come out to Westcott Road. And these two driveways are located very close to I-395. No other public street access is proposed. And I think this confirms the logic of the zoning scheme of the town, where you have designated this area for business park use, business park zone. It is located right next to the I-395 interchange. Now, given the nature of this project and its location on Westcott Road, which is a state highway, the project is subject to the jurisdiction of the Connecticut Office of the State Traffic Administration, which you may know by their acronym OSTA. The applicant has already submitted an application to OSTA for a certificate of operation. And that application to the state included a full traffic impact study that was prepared by the engineering firm of Fuss & O'Neill. Now, for your information, we have provided the commission and your third-party reviewer with the copy of the traffic study that we submitted to the state. And later in the presentation, we will have Fuss & O'Neill summarize the application that has been submitted to OSTA and also explain how vehicular access into the site driveways will work. I also want to point out one other aspect of this project overall, which is subject to state permitting. And that is that we have proposed an on-site sewage treatment system. This system is entirely within the permitting jurisdiction of the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. The applicant has had preliminary discussions with Connecticut DEEP regarding the permit application, and for reference, we have shown on the site plans the location of the proposed treatment facility and the leach field. So, to wrap up my introductory remarks, Abby, if you could flip to the next slide. Here are just a couple of key aspects of the site plan that we want to point out at sort of the top of the meeting here. Business Park Zoning District, warehouse and distribution centers are permitted as of right, and we believe that the application complies with the requirements contained in your regulations for such a use. As I've indicated, we have proposed two different conservation areas within the wetland application. They total 292 acres, and they will provide significant environmental benefit and land use separation. Vehicular access to the site will simply be from Westcott Road at locations very close to I-395. They will be subject to permitting by OSTA. And finally, as I noted, Connecticut DEP will review and ultimately be the permitting authority for the on-site sewage treatment system. So now, let me just put up a little agenda for the rest of the presentation of this team. First, I'm pleased to inform the commission that the tenant that will be occupying the project site will be Amazon. Brad Griggs, the Director of Economic Development for Amazon, is here, and he's going to address the commission for a few minutes about Amazon's operations and some of the key community benefits of this. Next, Tim Underko, a professional engineer with Langen Engineering, will describe key aspects of the proposed project and application, including site design, access drive, parking, grading, stormwater drainage, and erosion controls. Matt Skelly with Fuss & O'Neill, our traffic engineer, will provide a summary of the report that has been submitted to Connecticut DOT and to OSTA and describe vehicular access into the site. We have done a thorough acoustical study of this project, and Ben Muller, an acoustical engineer, is here to give you a brief presentation of the study that his office prepared. We also have a representative of HGI who can describe the anticipated fire suppression system for the building. And then finally, our architect, Thomas Hollins of McGregor Associates, can show you the building elevations for the project, and that would conclude our presentation for the evening. We are now circulating resumes of our key speakers this evening. And with that, I'd like to introduce Brad Griggs with Amazon.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brad Griggs. I lead economic development for Amazon throughout the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Canada. I want to thank the members of the Commission and the town of Killingley for having me here this evening to talk about the proposed operations of this facility. Abby. So what we're talking about this evening as it relates to Amazon is a first-mile Amazon robotic sortable fulfillment center. So in our logistics network, this is the inventory warehouse where products go live to be purchased from our website, from the app, by our customers throughout the Northeast region, should this project move forward. And so what we look at is we have our inbound cross docks. That's where sort of the supplies come in and are more easily broken down to be accepted into our network. Then we have multiple different types of first mile facilities. The type we're proposing here is our most advanced robotics facility, that it has goods in its inventory that effectively will fit inside of an airport security bin. That's the typical size and variety of products that will be housed there. Those SKUs that are most often purchased by our customer base. It has the type of facility that we're talking about is the most advanced Amazon robotics facility that we would have in the state of Connecticut should it move forward. We have similar facilities throughout the state in Windsor and in the greater Hartford region, in North Haven. And so what we're proposing here is that latest generation of Amazon robotic sortable. This type of facility has inventory come in as supplies. It's broken down. It's stored within the building. Then as our customers order it, it's picked, packed, and ready to be delivered to our customers downstream. So what you can see on the screen right now is sort of our logistics network as a whole, where this first mile is the inventory phase. It goes into middle mile and then ultimately a last mile site before it hits our customer doorsteps. The reason I bring that up is because this is not a facility that will have the blue vans like it's in Plainfield. This is a facility that operates as an inventory and distribution warehouse. Next slide, please.
Can I ask you, sorry, one question, just to make sure I got it right. You said you have similar facilities like these already in Connecticut?
Correct.
And where were they?
They're in Windsor and BDL3 is in North Haven.
North Haven?
Correct. The similar facility in Rhode Island is in Johnson, correct.
Sorry. Don't stop that. You want to stop that?
Wait, it's not. Excuse me.
No, coming down Route 6 into Westcott Road.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. She's out of order. There's no back and forth with the peanut gallery.
I'm trying to.
Thank you.
Isn't the peanut gallery the town? Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, sir, please.
Sure. So the primary purpose of this, as it says on the screen, is an e-commerce fulfillment center utilizing high-tech robotic systems to also engage with our significant employment opportunity and our net new jobs that we brought by this facility. Bulk items are received and stored throughout this location. The primary operations are our robotics inventory floor, which we'll show here shortly. This facility would operate 24/7 with the supplies coming in, being unpacked, ready for order, being then palletized and sent out into our logistics network throughout the New England region and Northeast. This facility is approximately 1.28 million square feet. That includes the employee areas, that includes the office space, that includes the break rooms, bathroom facilities that are spread throughout this location. The building materials that we're going to talk about are precast concrete and insulated metal panel exteriors. This is the same type of template building that we've done throughout not only Connecticut but throughout the Northeast region. It's just our latest template version of it. It's our most advanced robotics technologies. It also includes all of our most advanced safety features to make sure that our work environment is as safe as possible for our employment base that would be operating throughout this building. What we're talking about is sort of the line hauls come in, they're unloaded, they are moved to the inventory floor, and then packaged and ready to go. Next slide, please. So what we're talking about here is a total capital investment in excess of at least $200 million that would dramatically improve the assessed value of this building, bringing in net new revenue from a tax basis to the town and to the community. We're talking about at least 500 net new full-time jobs. Those positions come with a national average starting wage of $23 an hour. They also include comprehensive benefits that start day one. That includes medical, dental, vision, 401k, parental leave. It also includes our career choice program, which Amazon pays for tuition or career advancement. It pays for GED, it pays for English as a second language, it pays for anything that will advance the lives of our employees. Amazon pays the maximum allowable before our employees are taxed. We have partnerships with Yukon, Quinnebog Valley, and Three Rivers here locally. So what happens with our career choice program is our employees will look at the curriculums of these schools. They will register for these classes, and then Amazon provides that distribution directly for tuition, directly to the university. The employee does not have to come out of pocket to advance their career. So what Amazon wants to be able to do is to train these employees, whether to advance with us, where there's a significant opportunity to advance within our facilities, or if they want to advance their careers elsewhere, they're able to do that while Amazon not only employs them, but pays for their continuing education. We also anticipate at least 200 construction jobs to help build this facility. We believe that those jobs, that is a conservative estimate of what we believe the construction jobs for this project will bring. As Tom mentioned, there's a significant conservation proposal as part of this project with the 290 plus acres of on-site conservation. And then there will be significant infrastructure improvements along Westcott Road, 395, that our traffic engineers will discuss later on in the presentation. So from a site operations standpoint, I wanted to provide some visuals of how the robotics work. So what you will see on the screen is our Kivia robots. This helps move the inventory around the robotics floor. The inventory has come in on trucks, as you can see in the bottom of the screen. It is unloaded and broken down into supplies. It's then brought out onto the inventory floor where our associates will unload the inventory and stack them into the bookshelves, which are then moved out onto the inventory floor. That aligns with some of the things that we're going to discuss from a wastewater standpoint or usage of this facility from a traffic standpoint. A large portion of this facility is going to be this inventory floor where the robots will move around the inventory process, bringing them to and from our associates to handle the orders. We've built significant safety technology into our processes. Amazon has spent over $2.5 billion in safety efforts since 2019. In 2026, we've already spent hundreds of millions of dollars in safety training programs, in advanced safety innovations, and programs that will keep our employees and our partners in these buildings safer than they've ever been. In the last 6 years, we have improved over 70% of the incident rates in our building to help build a safer environment to make Amazon the most safe employer it can be. And that's a commitment that we're continuing to innovate on to make our employees and our workplace as safe as it can be. Once the order is made by our customers, the robot will bring the inventory to an associate who will take that inventory, move it down to packaging. The package is stamped, labeled, and ready to be delivered to our customer's doorstep. It's then palletized and sent out onto the network onto line haul trucks. So this building will not have, the blue vans that some of the other facilities have. This will be line hauls in, line hauls out, and then our employees in personal vehicles in and our employees in personal vehicles out. Next slide, please. So what you can see here is a visualization of what I just talked about. The yellow areas are our employees in personal vehicle parking along what is page south here. And then the red areas are the tractor trailer areas for the line haul tractor trailers to be stored, as well as the docking around the left and top of the building. This allows for safer traffic flows in and around the building through the separations that we talked about. You have a guardhouse, the primary guardhouse sort of in the plan right, the secondary guardhouse in the bottom left-hand corner, which allows for ease of movement and safer movements amongst the tractor trailers throughout the yard. That circulation allows for, again, segregated movements to keep those vehicles operating more effectively. We do not want to be the cause of or in your traffic. We have set these operations to minimize impacts in the peak hours of the communities that we go into, because we want them to we want them to be as efficient as possible in their operations and not cause those sort of negative impacts in the surrounding communities. Next slide.
Just clarification, so the
Sure.
red is the trucks?
Correct. The red is the
trailers.
trucks and the yellow
Yellow is the employees?
Correct.
Okay.
And with that, any other questions on sort of the Amazon aspect of our operations?
Just one clarification on your design. You had listed when you went back to where you showed AR, was it ARS? Is that what it is? That has an arrow over to same-day delivery?
Sure.
So no blue box fans, but what's same-day delivery mean?
So same-day delivery, it does allow for flex drivers, which are sort of, they use our program called Amazon Flex. They sign up to be a delivery driver. Some of our ARS facilities do facilitate that. That's if you're an Amazon customer and you order, this morning and the package arrives that evening, it's facilitated through same-day delivery. So a small portion of this facility may operate in that same-day fashion, but they will not be through vans. That process is done through our Amazon Flex program. Drivers sign up. They have proof of insurance, they take a safety course, and then they're given between 20 and 30 packages, and that is part of our traffic analysis.
That's my next question, is how is that accounted for? Because I didn't see anything specifically in there.
It'll
with
be
that
part of
traffic
the
analysis.
personal vehicle movements.
But they won't be parked, right? I mean.
No, so they show up, they're given a 30-minute window with which to show up to get their deliveries. Now, that is, a proposed potential future operations, but it's not the primary operations here.
All right, as long as your traffic engineer can discuss how he incorporated that into his analysis, because again, there was nothing specific about that type of operation. Thank you.
They're owner-operators, right?
Excuse me?
They're owner-operators.
Amazon?
No.
Oh, the flex drivers?
Yes.
So they're
Are they using your vehicles or their own?
they're using their own personal vehicles. They're signed up on the app, so similar to if they drive for Uber or any other app-based provider. No, they're an independent. Sure. The difference between this facility here that we're proposing and the facility, say, in Windsor is the size. So the one in Windsor is also multiple stories. So it's several stories high. It's a much higher building. It's a much larger square footage. So this is only 1.28. That facility is several million square feet in size. So it has a much larger inventory floor. This building is shorter and has a more 1.28 million square footage. So that building also uses it's our Gen 12 version of the building. This would be Gen 14. So we have more advanced robotics in this building, and therefore more efficient use. And what we're trying to do is advance that template. But it's a similar first mile operations from an Amazon robotics standpoint. On to our next speaker. Thank you very much.
Next slide.
Good evening. Tim Underko, professional engineer with Langen. Wanted to walk you through a little bit more of the site plan. You've heard some of this from Tom. Brad also explained a little bit of the operations. This figure looks similar to the one that Tom showed, whereas our site is the blue box that surrounds the building and the parking, which is in magenta or purple there. The orange conservation area to the east is under the cursor there. And then the Markover Hunting Preserve is outlined in yellow, which would be deeded as open space conservation land to the town of Killingly. During the wetlands presentation, we added some of these dimensions to this plan to give you a sense of distance between the proposed building and surrounding residential uses. And some of those numbers, which may be hard to see on here, they are on your handout in front of you. On the north end of the building, so from the northern building wall to the homes on Mockingbird and Grouse is over 3,000 feet. So that dimension is 3,057 feet between building and nearest residential neighbor to the north. Heading northeast to Cook Hill, that distance is 2,941 feet from building corner to Cook Hill Road. And then if we go to the southeast, from the building to Mashantuck is 2,116 feet. And then from the building corner down to Westcott is 2,658 feet. So we're talking in terms of half a mile to nearly 2/3 of a mile for some of these distance separations between surrounding residential streets. And as Attorney Cody mentioned, there's no access from this site to Mashantuck or to Cook Hill. All of the access happens on the two driveways to Westcott. Again, the rendered site plan that Tom showed previously, where we identify building, parking, loading, areas in green will be landscaped, and not highlighted on here, but a thing we've spent considerable time with the Wetland Commission on is there are a number of improvements where the property abuts Westcott to do wetland enhancement and wetland mitigation to areas that have been historically disturbed through the residential and farming activities. So while we have kind of your typical curb and pavement and lighting and landscaping on site, we also have a number of improvements we're making where the driveways eventually connect to Westcott to improve some of those existing conditions that have been degraded over the years from historic uses. Next slide, please. Included in our plan set is our zoning chart, which identifies how we are compliant with the regulations. This includes setbacks from street line, side yard, rear yard, and the thing I would point out, and which you discussed in the prior application, was lot coverage. This zone permits up to 50% lot coverage, and we are at 8.7, so significantly below what would be permitted on this site in full build-out. Number of parking spaces, minimum required is 645. We have 930. Minimum number of loading spaces required is 33. We have 60. And then our parking stall dimensions are compliant, and our loading stall dimensions are actually about 50% larger than the requirement, and they exceed the minimum required depth. Where the zoning regs for this zone have provisions for buildings that exceed 50 feet in height. Our building is 53 feet tall. For every foot of additional building height, you have to add 5 feet to each side yard setback. With the abundance of our setbacks, we're able to meet that and still provide compliance with a 53-foot building following that guidance. And there's a footnote here. There's also a footnote in our zoning plans that work through that math. Next slide. A big part of a site like this is stormwater management. Again, we've spent considerable time with the Wetland Commission, and it's being reviewed by your third-party peer review. We have what we really consider a train, in that there are a number of steps to stormwater management on site. We've got some of those highlighted in the box on the right. We have piping that moves stormwater from the roofs and from the parking areas. We have the first dark blue box, which is a hydrodynamic separator. You've probably seen these on prior applications. They swirl the water to remove material that floats and separate it from material that settles. Those are the first line of defense in our system. Once you move through those hydrodynamic separators, you enter kind of the pink or purple boxes. Those are our detention systems, which capture water from the roof and pavement and then meter them out to match existing conditions of the site prior to development. Downstream of those underground detention systems are a media filter system. So those systems actually filter the stormwater as it leaves the site prior to it being discharged in locations that we've worked with our wetland consultant on identifying where discharge would be most appropriate to match existing conditions of the site in terms of feeding on-site wetlands and matching existing flows that happened overland on the property. There are 2 additional stormwater features as you head down the driveway or head south. They take the runoff from the truck driveway and the associate driveway. One is a biofiltration basin and the other is an extended dry detention basin. Again, the design of those is being reviewed by the town's third-party consultant. All of this is summarized in the stormwater management report. As Attorney Cody mentioned, we've worked through a round of revisions with the third-party peer reviewer. That report will be updated as part of that resubmission back to the peer reviewer. You will also receive a copy of that as we've made changes, as the design is advanced, and as the review has been undertaken. Some pictures of kind of what this stormwater system looks like. On the left-hand side is a column of the train. Water first enters catch basins. It goes to the hydrodynamic separators where it's spun. It goes to an underground detention system, which helps slow the flow of water. There is a filter system. The brand name here that we're proposing is called Jellyfish. And then the water is discharged to a level spreader, which spreads it back out over a longer area, reduces its velocity, and allows it to refeed the on-site wetlands. Some pictures of kind of what those systems look like. In the middle top is a cutaway of a graphic of a hydrodynamic separator. Water enters through the red arrow and it leaves through the green, and in that process it's treated to remove sediment and material. The upper right-hand photo is photos of the underground detention system. This functions similar to what you might see in above-ground basin. This happens underground with concrete chambers, and that has an outlet that meters the flow. The lower middle photo is a picture of the Jellyfish media filter, where water enters the chamber. It actually flows into and up through the filter and then exits. And then the last photo on the lower right is our level spreader, which again takes velocity out and allows for some infiltration as the water leaves our pipe network. Included in our stormwater management report is not just the calculations of how the system works, but also what happens to the system and how it's maintained post-operation. There are a number of checklists that identify what to look for, when to look for it, and when systems require maintenance. The manufacturer of the underground detention system has its own protocol. The manufacturer of the Jellyfish system has a protocol, and we've included all that material into the stormwater management report. In addition to kind of post-operation stormwater, we also have to think about stormwater management, erosion and sediment control during construction. We've prepared and included in our plan set a 3-phased approach that looks at what are the initial steps to protect surrounding resources and set up perimeter controls for soil erosion and sediment control. We have a second phase of what happens when the site is actively under construction, and then we included a third phase of as you begin to finalize the building, as portions of the parking lot and drive aisles are prepared, what do you need to do and modify to kind of progress with construction. In addition to preparing these plans as part of our submission, they're being reviewed by your third-party consultant. We also must submit a permit to Connecticut DEEP for construction activities. In order to submit that permit, we need to have yet another third-party review the application as part of the sign-off. So we will submit the plans, we will submit the permit. That third-party reviewer must also provide concurrence to the state that the plan meets the standards of the state. And then during construction, the project requires weekly observation and monitoring. That would be done both by us as civil engineers and as our wetland consultant would also have a part in that project review and monitoring during construction. So a number of parties stay involved throughout the course of construction. In addition to the required weekly inspections, we are also required to execute an inspection after significant rainfall. So if our inspection was on Monday, it rains on Wednesday, we'd be back out there on Thursday to see what happens after the rainfall, and then we would start our regular cadence of weekly inspections again. So a number of steps exist. These plans are reviewed with the contractor during work, and if you go to the next slide, we included an example of what an inspection report would look like. We take photos, we make observations of what work is happening. We would identify items that may be out of compliance. We would identify items that were out of compliance last week and remedied, and these are kept on site as part of kind of a full booklet of the story of construction. So if an issue arises, if a silt fence is broken, we can identify when that happened, when it was remedied, and make sure that we continue to be in compliance with our state permit. The state can audit us at any time. The state could show up and ask for that booklet and review our plan. So this is taken seriously, and we just wanted to include a snapshot of what that looks like. It is not brief. This is 2 pages of it, and they're typically 6 to 8 pages. Next slide. Attorney Cody mentioned a little bit about utilities. As you may be aware, the town is under a sewer moratorium. There is sewer along the frontage of the property in Westcott. We are providing piping to allow a future connection to the town's sanitary sewer system should that moratorium be lifted and capacity available. But in the meantime, we are proposing and will be permitting with the state an on-site treatment facility. That facility renovates the waste discharge from the building and then uses essentially a typical leaching field to infiltrate the runoff from that system, similar to a system that you would have in your house with a leaching field or leaching galleries. To date, we have had a pre-application meeting with the state to review the proposed wastewater treatment system, as well as the on-site stormwater management system. And we've completed an on-site inspection with the state. Their sanitation group that handles the review and permitting of these wastewater treatment site systems was on site with us while we were completing test pits to look at the soil structure, and we will submit that application and those materials in due course as we move the project forward. So there is no discharge to the town's sanitary sewer system, but should it be available, we've got the infrastructure in place to connect to it. We are also working with Connecticut Water on a water main extension in Westcott that would serve this facility with public water for both drinking and fire protection. And we're working with Eversource on electrical upgrades to their network to provide electrical power to the building. There is no gas connection proposed for the building. It is all electric. Next slide, please. Included, as you would see in site plan applications, we have a lighting plan. This includes a full photometric as well as details of the light poles themselves. The fixtures are LED. They are full cutoff, which means the lighting element lives completely inside of a box. There is no glass globe, and they meet the dark sky compliant standards. So green and blue are the lower levels of light. We have 2 areas at the primary and secondary guard shack where we have higher light levels for safety as vehicles enter and may be inspected by employees of the facility. But a full photometric, including details, is included in our submission. And then, next slide, we also have a planting plan, which includes proposed trees, shrubs, and ground cover. That planting plan is supplemented by the wetland restoration and remediation work that would have a whole nother list of plant species that would be placed on site to enhance those wetland areas down by Westcott that I mentioned previously. Next slide. Typical mix of species. This is not a monoculture. There are no invasive species selected. We review on-site plantings with the state list and provide a mix of trees and shrubs to make sure that this is not a single species planting. Wraps up the description of the site plan. Happy to take any questions or let the traffic consultant give you some background.
A historical study on that site.
As part of the state permit, we'll be required to complete an archaeological study. It's called the Phase 1A. That will be done as part of the submission to the state for the stormwater management permit. So we will have to complete one based on the soil types in the area, and that is reviewed by the State Historic Preservation Office, where they dictate spacing and testing frequency prior to allowing the issuance of the stormwater management permit. So yes, one will be completed.
Would that also include the natural diversified water base or something?
Natural diversity database,
There you
correct,
go.
yes. We have completed an analysis. We do not have any listed or protected species on site. That is done same course as part of the state permit. You have to identify that you're compliant with that. Our wetland consultant has completed that review and has done a number of on-site investigations and inspections to confirm. So we are not in the polygons that you see on the state mapping for endangered species. Those maps do change. We will have to stay current with the state on those, and at the time of permit submission would have to confirm that we are still outside any of those boundaries. We have seen them change, and we've had to go back and do additional investigation, but yes.
Any questions at this point, or just go ahead? Go ahead, get traffic.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Skelly. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Connecticut, and I'm a registered professional traffic operations engineer with the Institute of Transportation Engineers. I work at Fuss & O'Neill. Our address is One Financial Plaza in Hartford. I have 13 years of experience doing traffic studies like this in Connecticut and across New England. Tonight I'm going to walk you through, as has been mentioned earlier, what is an overview of our OSTA permit process with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. As you see up on the screen here, there's actually another separate review that is conducted by ConnDOT called an encroachment permit review. All told, there's 6 rounds of ConnDOT review before we could do any construction here. And I'll also flag in the left-hand graphic there, you can see all the roadways colored green. Those are all state-owned roadways, which covers just about everything that we're studying in this. If you go to the next slide, we can look at kind of a little bit of a zoomed out view of our study area. You can see north is up here with 395 running down the middle of the page. You can see how close those orange site driveway locations are to 395 there. And that really is what helps make this an ideal site for vehicles to access coming to and from the highway. This is a property that's zoned consistent with the industrial warehouse use that we studied. And you can see there's 5 total intersections that we reviewed. So for a study like this, we use a scope that's fairly well dictated by the Department of Transportation. The First thing that I'll cover is a safety review, including looking at the most recent 3 years of crash data in accordance with the CONDOT standards, confirming site distance at the driveway locations, just to make sure that those provide acceptable distance. And then we'll look at operational analysis. So the trip generation, the study area intersections were counted on March 25th and December 3rd in 2025. I'm sorry, March 20th, 2025, at all the 5 study area intersections. And we used that data that we collected to analyze the level of service at those study area intersections. And then, if needed, we develop recommendations to mitigate any impacts that we find at those driveways and make sure that all those intersections are going to be operating safely and efficiently. So we'll go to the next slide here and touch on that peak hour trip generation. So we have this broken out into the passenger vehicle trips and the truck trips. The truck trips are pretty even coming and going, and it's important to note that each of those entering and exiting trips combines to be one truck, right? So you'll have each truck has a coming trip and a going trip. So you'll see 7 and 6 adds up to 13 total trips, but that's, 6, 7 trucks. Same thing with the passenger vehicles. You'll notice, just like any other significant facility where you have people coming to work in the morning, you have most of your trips coming, fewer trips exiting during the morning peak hour. In the afternoon, it's a little bit more balanced with those passenger vehicles. You can see also the trip distribution that's listed up there on the screen. Those, what you see, are broken out into tractor trailer distribution and passenger vehicle distribution. And essentially all of the tractor trailer traffic we expect will be coming immediately on and off of 395. Some of the passenger vehicles, which would constitute the people working at this place, those may be coming from local areas, but essentially all of the truck traffic we are expecting to be coming to and from 395. Yes.
Did you take into consideration there's an emergency ambulance area on that road just before you get on 395?
Yes, just in terms of the volumes, you mean, or
In terms of if there's trucks coming and the ambulance is coming out, how many, this is 24/7, the trucks?
Yeah, the truck traffic goes all day, yeah.
So my question is, when the ambulance comes out, it's gonna make more of a problem for them than it would if you weren't there.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. What we're talking about, like in the course of a given hour, is about 6 or 7, 8, maybe 10 trucks in an hour. And if you want to think about that in terms of like how often you're going to see a truck come, if there's 10 in an hour, that means you're going to see one truck like every 6 minutes or so.
It can be 10 in an hour today, but it might not be tomorrow. And I'm just saying, take into consideration, there is an emergency
Sure.
place there that could be
I'll put a pin in that and
Okay.
come back to it when we talk about the
Okay.
improvements.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right, let's go to the next slide here. We want to talk a little bit more about the truck traffic. So on Westcott Road today, during those counts that we conducted actually some on the 19th and 20th of March to get a sense of the amount of trucks that are on the road today. And you can see an average of maybe 10 trucks per day. And that amounts to like 0.1, 0.2% of the total traffic. In the future, you're looking at maybe somewhere in the range of like we have 435 trucks in a day, and that amounts to about 6% of the total traffic on the road. So just to give you some context there. And I'll point out also, Westcott Road is classified by the DOT as a major collector type roadway, which is gonna be important as we go through these next slides. Looking at Knox Avenue, also listed by the DOT as a major collector roadway. You're seeing, again, today, very low truck traffic percentages, 0.5% around there. In the future, and of course, you only have northbound traffic there coming on Knox for the site. Again, we'd be looking at somewhere in the range of about 6% of the vehicles, assuming this does get built on Knox Avenue. And if you want to go ahead to the next slide, those are to set up for a comparison with a different spot in town up at Lake Road. We did some counts there. Again, just as a point of comparison, it was the same time frame, and we found somewhere in the range of about 600 tractor trailers a day on those roads, average of 618. And what you're seeing for a percentage of tractor trailers is like somewhere in the range of 8 to 9%. So those three slides are really just to point out that there are other roads in town. This also is classified by ConnDOT as a major collector, as a type of road. So what you would be seeing in terms of truck traffic is actually pretty consistent with what you will find other places in town. Onto the safety review. So you can see here all this is listed out in the study, but there's adequate sight distance provided at both of the proposed site driveways. And at both of those site driveways, there's no substantial crash history. I think we're looking at something in the range of about 1 crash per year in the vicinity of those intersections. Yeah, you can see up on the screen here. I will say, and that goes for all 5 of the intersections, not just the site driveways. However, I would flag that at the off-ramp intersection, that also the 395 off-ramp and Gauthier Avenue, that one did see more. That was about 3 crashes per year. And these are the years 2022, 2023, and 2024, which are the most recent 3 years of complete crash data that ConnDOT can provide. And a lot of those crashes were angle crashes. So that was something that we noticed, and we wanted to take that into account when we were talking about our proposed improvements. If you want to go to the next slide. So we'll actually start at that intersection. So just to make sure everyone's oriented, that's Gauthier on the bottom of the page, and 395 all the way to the right. At this intersection, we're proposing some new signal equipment that would improve visibility and sight distance and hopefully cut down on some of those angle crashes a little bit. We're also proposing some improved pedestrian signal equipment on the west side of that intersection, where there's just a, you can call the side street red for Sprague, and that lets you get a red light to cross, but having some upgraded pedestrian equipment would be a good improvement there. Moving over to the passenger vehicle site driveway with Knox Avenue. So at this site there, we conducted a signal warrant analysis and found that the volumes would indicate that a signal is warranted for these intersections. And And this is proposed to be basically one large signal that controls both of these intersections, kind of, it's like 5 legs approaching it. And as I mentioned, all of this operates safely and efficiently in our analysis for the proposed condition. And if you want to go ahead to the next one. So this is the proposed truck access driveway. And this is where I wanted to touch on the ambulance question. So there is a road widening proposed here to make sure that if a truck is waiting to turn, that there's bypass width for any vehicles, certainly emergency vehicles included, to be able to get around those trucks as they're operating into the site driveway. Also, you'll notice that on the bottom of the screen here, we've kind of proposed some minor changes to Reynolds Street to make that intersection operate a little bit more smoothly, and that essentially covers the off-site improvements that we're proposing. So again, just to reiterate, we reviewed the safety and found that the site distance requirements are met at both of the site driveways. No significant crash frequencies at our study area intersections. However, we did notice a number of angle collisions at the 395 off-ramp. The operational analysis, again, as I mentioned, and all this is in the study, that the intersections all operate at acceptable levels of service in the proposed condition, and that the amount of truck traffic proposed for this road would actually be consistent with other roads of the same classification in town. Our recommendations to reconstruct the signal at the I-95, at the 395 off-ramp, improving visibility, implement new traffic signals at Knox Avenue and the passenger vehicle site driveway to help facilitate efficient operations. I didn't mention reconfiguring Stern Street, which would tie into the passenger vehicle site driveway. And we can include a little circle at the end of that to make sure folks can get around just fine. And then realign Hillside View and Reynolds Street to have a little bit better functionality at that intersection. Lastly, widening Westcott Road, as I mentioned, to provide that bypass width at the truck driveway. And just finish up to reiterate that part of the helpful thing about this site location is that all of the access is onto state roads, which means that you all have the benefit of CONDOT's review to make sure that all of this is done through, like I said, those 6 rounds of review to make sure that everything is safe and will function efficiently in assuming that this project does get constructed. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Can I, Mr. Chairman, can I ask Matt to clarify just a couple of points? You showed diagrams of a number of roadway improvements, and I want to just have you clarify that all of those diagrams of improvements, they are proposals, and they are currently under review with DOT and OSTA, correct?
Yeah, it's absolutely right, Tom.
And can you share with the commission sort of the steps that are included in the OSTA review, and where are you now?
Sure. The first thing for a project like this when you go into OSTA is that you submit your trip generation projections to them. So all of those passenger vehicle traffic, the truck traffic, all of that has been reviewed by the Connecticut DOT, and they have agreed with what we have, with what our estimates and projections are. Now we're really in the meat of our review with them, where all of those proposed potential improvements that Tom was talking about, they're all being, they're all under review. Tom was talking about all being, they're all under review. Feedback. They're all under review. Did you get me there? I think it's going to keep happening. Okay. So yeah, that's what we will hear back from them next is we'll get comments from them. Certainly we would expect some back and forth to make sure that we get to a design that they like. But anytime you're trying to put a new driveway onto a state road, you need approval from the DOT.
And Matt, then the timing of this. So OSTA will make a final decision on that certificate application that you've submitted. At what point? That comes after planning and zoning decision, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They need the local approval in order to make their final decision.
And then after that is the encroachment permit review?
That's correct. Yeah, this is like kind of sequential from the first column and then into the second column. The encroachment permit review is really geared around the construction elements of it. So not so much analyzing the traffic impacts, but more looking at, you know, your widths and your radii and all that kind of stuff about the construction. Yeah, you bet.
Question. Knox Avenue, you got an exit coming out, I believe it's Knox Avenue, to the east of the northbound entrance ramp.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And that's your vehicle or trailer entrance?
The one right here on the screen.
Yes.
So opposite Knox Ave, that is the right opposite Knox Ave is the on-ramp to 395.
So it's
but
right.
Just off to it is the passenger vehicle access.
Okay, now isn't that a public town road?
That's right, yes. That is Baker Street right there.
So Baker, and then behind that building is also,
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify one thing about Baker. In our title research and historical records research, what we determined was that actually what you know now as Baker, that land is owned by the state. It was part of the original taking, we think, for I-395. So while it says Baker, it really is state-owned property right
so
there.
what about the road behind where you're proposing a cul-de-sac on it?
That is Stern Street. That is a street that we've shown right there.
Town road.
That's a town road, and we are showing a modification of that to accommodate the project driveway that comes in for trucks at that location. So
Now,
we-
doesn't that have to go before the town council as a modification to an existing town road?
I would expect that would be the case, yes.
And then a town meeting, because then it becomes whether we're giving up land or not giving up land. Usually, a town meeting is required for land transaction.
It's, it is right-of-way. It's right-of-way is what it is.
We got an attorney for us.
Maybe. It depends what comes out of it, whether or not they need to acquire land or just an easement. But chances are there's going to be an 824 referral to this commission if there was going to be new land that's going to be added to the local road system.
Be required to modify an existing town road, town council approval, and then possibly a town meeting.
That's possible, yes.
And Baker Street, it would not apply to it?
I haven't seen the title work, but if that's state-owned land, then it would not.
I mean, I'm not sure, but if the town maintains Stern Street, they must maintain that entrance that comes out, I'm sure. So if they're maintaining it all these years, I would think that they would still have a right to that as well. I'm not a lawyer, but you guys figure it out. Okay. So anyway, the bottom line is that would seem to me that whatever you're modifying for that road, you would need permission, we would need permission from the town council for us to accept that. Am I wrong?
In terms of whether or not you can issue the site plan approval before all this
Well, at least
process
that
is
portion
done.
of it, they're proposing and modifying an existing town road.
I'll confer with Attorney Cody and just get an understanding in terms of what the likelihood, with what they're proposing to DOT, what elements of that involve town.
I mean, the plan that
change
they
of town.
proposed to us shows that being modified. Entrance being redone, And then also the cul-de-sac being proposed, so that road becoming now a dead end, where it's now a through street.
Right, I'll confer with him.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes.
Northbound on 395, Knox Avenue. You no sooner exit, and there's a stop sign right there. Then there's a long stretch leading over to Westcott Road. There was a fatality, a truck ran through that intersection, killed somebody, I believe. And there are also other roads coming into that access road. You know, the noise is certainly gonna increase with trucks gearing up and down. Seems to me that you gotta pay special attention to that segment of it, because it's not a simple off-ramp off of 95, or 395 rather, like onto Westcott Road, for example. You've got that long stretch.
Yeah, and I'll say that I did see in the third-party review, they had some similar comments for us to respond to, so I think you could definitely expect some further thought on that at our next appearance.
Just to add to the chairman's comment, I mean, I guess the same would apply to Reynolds and Hillside intersection if they're modifying that, right? Because those are town, this intersection.
I'm talking about this.
No, I know, but to say if they're doing
That's also
modifications
that
here.
too. Yes.
Yeah, so I would add that to your list just to make sure you check that. And then similar to Mr. Sarantopoulos' comment, for Knox Ave, again, that's, again, one of the main traveled roads that you guys would be using. Who looks at the construction of those roads from long-term stability? Because again, you talk about construction being later, and you're talking about geometries and turning radius, but who's looking at the actual road construction to make sure it can handle the heavier impact?
For the stretch of Knox Road in between the off-ramp, the northbound off-ramp, and Westcott Road, that is all town-owned. Like I said, I think we would expect that road is constructed to the character of the functional classification, it being a major collector roadway, and that it is built to handle the level of truck traffic that is consistent with other major collector roadways in town. But like I said, yeah, we can certainly get you a more complete answer on making sure that is constructed acceptably for that.
Okay, and where in the process, again, because I was taking a note when you went through the checklist, where in the process does the physical nature of the roads come into play as far as looking at the turning radiuses and the turning lanes and the queuing, and when does that come into process with OSTA?
In terms of, well, I will say that OSTA does review all of that stuff. The encroachment permit portion is essentially around like when you are developing construction documents for them to review. But in terms of like, queue storage, even some of your lane widths, that kind of thing, that is all part of the step that we are in currently with CONDOT and the Office of the State Traffic Administration.
So they're looking at the turning radiuses coming off of 395 southbound to make sure there's no issues there getting to that lane. You're not going to encroach over to the side lane. Are they looking at the spacing between the lights and the light configuration as far as your analysis and everything? To make sure there's no I know those are the comments in the third-party review as well. But
yeah, and we're expecting to receive some kind of similar comments from OSTA, I would expect as well. Yeah.
Okay. And you didn't answer the question I had on the
I had a note and I missed it.
Yep. On your trip generation, how did you account for the delivery aspect of this building?
Yes, thank you. So those passenger vehicles that are accounted for in our trip gen slide, those come from data that we have received from other similarly operating Amazon facilities. So those facilities also have those, same-day delivery drivers, so they're included in those peak hour counts.
Okay, I don't recall seeing that statement in your report.
Well, we could, it's We could,
I thought you used the ITC traffic.
we
for the
did
building, but-
compare it to other ITE uses,
ITE,
just to make sure that it was, you know, in the same ballpark that the information that we're getting was. And in fact, actually, the numbers that we got for Amazon were higher. So we used that over the ITE trip generation manual numbers, just to be more conservative.
So I think that information, clarification, and analysis would be good to see in the report. So if
Absolutely.
people are questioning that analysis.
Thank you. Yeah.
You mentioned Westcott Road and the traffic. I travel that every day, and I can tell you honestly, I probably see 2 trucks a week.
Yeah.
So you have to consider how much more traffic it's going to be there and make sure that it's done properly, because it's a very windy road.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll reiterate that we would expect virtually all of the truck traffic to be contained to just this area that you see in that project area on the screen. Up and down Westcott Road, we really are not anticipating a noticeable increase in truck traffic at all.
I'm taking your word.
We just built a new facility in Johnson, Rhode Island. Yeah, are you gonna have traffic between this facility and that one? If you are, it's gonna come down Westcott Road, because they're gonna take Route 6 off, well, Route 6 from Rhode Island.
Yeah, we are not anticipating traffic between those two facilities. And you know, if you want to hear more from the Amazon operations people, we can talk more about that. But yeah, we're not. Yeah.
This facility in Killenly, you don't ship product from there to Johnson, Rhode Island?
I don't know. Yeah.
So these facilities are first mile facilities, as I discussed. So the Johnson facility is a standalone first mile facility that facilitates those activities throughout the Northeast region. Each of these facilities is standalone. So they then they have inbound trucks bringing supply from our suppliers to the site that brings the inventory in. Once it is packaged, it is then sent out into our network to either middle mile or last mile facilities. So the Johnson facility and this proposed facility would not commingle traffic between the two sites, because when the packages leave Johnston, they head to middle mile or last mile facilities throughout the region. This is a first mile facility that would operate in the same manner. The first mile facilities do not have traffic that goes between them. Sure.
So, nothing coming from the east or the west?
What we're anticipating is what the traffic analyst just said. The traffic will come off 395 into the facility.
So no truck traffic from Rhode Island or no truck traffic from
If our
Hartford?
suppliers are in Rhode Island, they would come to via 395. But what we're
They
anticipating,
will come down Route 6.
yeah, but that is only inbound inventory. It's not coming from the Johnston site.
Right, but they will come down Route 6, and what we're saying, they'll either take Route 6 to 395 to your site, or they'll take Westcott to your site. That's from Rhode Island.
I would again lean on the OSTA review of all this trip generation, which they have already reviewed and approved. They agree with our sentiment here. I'm not trying to say that like 0.0 trucks could be coming on those roads, but the vast majority of trucks will be coming and going from 395.
You might not say it, but I want to say it.
I hear you.
And I want to say what's coming from Hartford. How's it coming? Hartford will be 6.
But it
or
definitely
101,
sounds like that's
which is-
a point of contention that maybe we can provide a little more information for you on the next time that we come back.
I got plenty more, but I'll wait.
I agree with what he just said, because a lot of times I would be coming from Rhode Island. It's easier than it is coming off of 395 and going this way. So I think you're going to find them going both ways. down to Route 6 or come this way and go 395?
And Matt, what is your testimony as the traffic engineer? What do you believe will happen?
That for a facility like this, the vast majority of tractor trailer trucks are going to come to and from the highway that this site is located directly next to. If there's more questions? Okay, I'm not going anywhere. You won't? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ben Muller.
Jesus, goodness, I'm not ready yet. Good evening, Ben Muller. I'm a principal of Ostergaard Acoustical Associates. We're located out of Woodbridge, New Jersey. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey and Oregon. I've been working in the field of applied acoustics for 27 years now, doing projects similar to this all across the country. And my background is in mechanical engineering, and I have a graduate degree in mechanical engineering with a concentration in noise and vibration control, and I've been accepted as an expert across the country. Our directive here, which is not unlike any other type of project, whether this be manufacturing or housing or what have you, is we take a look at what our applicable regulations are. Those are our marching orders. And then we look at our site as it would be built to compare it to our applicability to those standards. Next slide, please. We primarily rely on modeling. A lot of my testimony you're going to hear this evening is going to parallel what we just heard from traffic. So traffic uses a lot of resources that are publicly available. In fact, noise and traffic are going to be very close partners in discussion here. So I'm basing the numbers of noise events based on the traffic testimony that we heard. And then we look at how this will act in the plans that are proposed, and then whether or not it requires additional mitigation in order to comply with those codes. Next slide, please. We've seen several overall views here. This is just my placeholder to give a discussion of the surrounding area. We've seen previous exhibits that are pointing out that the nearest houses are 1,000+ feet away, which obviously provides great amount of distance for the noise to reduce naturally. We also have a large amount of buffer in all directions, which is also advantageous. Next slide, please. So as far as regulations go, we see them well written out through the state of Connecticut regulations, and then we also have some local ordinances that come into play. So under the state of Connecticut, they look at site sound emissions. They cover a large variety of options and different kinds of noise sources. It primarily focuses on stationary noise sources, which are noise sources that don't move. When we look at what the limit requirements are, during the daytime, for residential receptors, the allowable limit is 61 dBA, so dB being the abbreviation for decibels, and A signifying the A weighting. And A weighting network is used because that is what most mimics our hearing response. So everything we see here is commonly seen throughout the environmental analyses of sound, as the human is the source of a receptor of such noise. Daytime hours are going to be from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. During the nighttime hours, which will then be the complementary 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. hours, that limit significantly reduces down to 51. And I say significant because what we'll hear through the discussion tonight on noise is that sounds are logarithmic. And so as they add together, a small change is actually an influence of a larger result. So the difference between 61 and 51, this isn't the same as if we look at a speed limit, which would be a linear comparison. 51 is a significant decrease compared to the daytime code limit. The state code also allows for permission to have some slight exceedances for short durations, and that parallels with how humans respond to noise. For example, we would be much more offended by a steady noise of a higher magnitude than an occasional aircraft pass by, for example. There's a discussion of impulsive sound in there, impulsive sound is defined as a sound source that occurs for less than 1 second. So that would be your bang or your coupling to coupling, which would be a truck event on site. A different limit is provided here, but I don't want to bog down the technical element of it, so we're just encompassing it in with the regular regulations that we're discussing. State code specifically limits motor vehicles. They provide a separate section discussing motor vehicles. Now, that might seem erroneous, but the purpose is that because all motor vehicles travel on state and federal highways, that there are higher regulations that they're bound to. What we do from a site sound emission standpoint, though, is we try to encompass that when vehicles are on our site, they are indeed our responsibility. Connecticut State Ordinance also specifically defines a section talking about how the motor vehicle is exempt as it travels through the truck court, and only until it's stopped and turned off before you would then evaluate loading and unloading noise. So just to point out that these are the marching orders that they provided that we're following. Under this state motor vehicle limits, this is commonly seen. It regulates it relative to the vehicle. So at 50 feet from the vehicle, under certain speed and surfaces, they provide limits of permissive sound. While those are indeed what they are, that's what we go to the DMV and get evaluated with respect to. You have a muffler. It's relatively easy to comply with all these ordinances. And the reason why I don't take much weight in this is because a motor vehicle can comply no matter where it is within a municipality, and that doesn't necessarily relieve it of potentially causing impacts. So that's a law. The trucks will comply by that, but that's not something that we take into account or give weight to in our analysis. Next slide. So looking down on the local ordinance here, in Killingly, we have Article 4, noise ordinance. It uses the same limits that the state provides, and then it does some similar things too. So it also allows for slight exceedances for short duration, much like the state, and we are again looking at a 61 daytime limit for residential areas and 51 for nighttime. Now, the main difference between the state and local is that the state code provides these reference limits based on use, whereas the local code clearly defines it based on zone. We don't have much of a contention here, though, because our zones and our uses are well aligned in the vicinity of the site. Local ordinance also says motor vehicles must comply with the state motor vehicle limits, and it also, similar to the state, excludes warning devices such as backup alarms. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are all in place now. Now we have to figure out how to make sense of them and how to apply them in a meaningful way. Despite these exemptions, and we'll talk about this in detail as we go, the idea is not to just provide all that weight behind an exemption saying this is what we're allowed to do, so we're just going to do it anyway. We know that in sound studies that despite exemption, there can be real impacts. So we want to take consideration of them as much as possible. The purpose for backup alarms to be exempt is because there's a safety element that's involved. But we all know, based on the attendance here tonight, that the backup alarms and the like are things that are truly worrisome and a concern of the neighborhood. So based on our codes, we can kind of distill it down into two distinct categories. We have our stationary noise sources, which is going to be our HVAC. That's going to be the equipment that runs 24 hours a day. Also, loading and unloading is clearly regulated based on the ordinances, and those are the 61-day and the 51-night. Since the site's going to operate 24 hours a day, we really just designed the site to comply with nighttime regulations. Motor vehicle, we talked about how it is the codes are relevant to the source, not the receptor. That doesn't provide us with a useful metric to bring into our sound study here. So we've just carried over the state and local noise limits, regardless of the exemption, so that we want the project to strive to have all on-site motor vehicles fully conform with the daytime and nighttime noise limits. Next slide. So how do we do this? Well, we understand, we're fully familiar with how sites like this operate. We've done a considerable amount of surveys for existing facilities. We also have a robust database, not only with truck activity, but for mechanical equipment that's very straightforward, right? Trane or Lennox or whoever the manufacturer is provides readily available sound data. And so for our HVAC model, we developed it for the entirety of the site based on the site plans. We have 168 mechanical units across the site. ranging from 5 to 40 tons. So smaller equipment in the logarithmical nature of combining is not going to weigh heavily. Eventually, things like a toilet exhaust fan, for example, is not going to drive off-site sound emissions. The larger equipment will combine for that. Just summary of our sound levels. So everything for sound power levels ranges from 63, which is quite low, to 94, which you'll see is on the same order of magnitude as some of our truck activity. So mechanical equipment itself can be have a presence. For trucks, just to break down for an understanding of how they fall in the hierarchy here, driving trucks produce about 74 at 50 feet. An idling truck is significantly quieter, 62. I don't traditionally focus on idling trucks. While we understand that might occur, we have idling laws from the state that they're supposed to comply with. And then since they're such a significantly low source level, they're again not something that drives off-site sound emissions. The driving trucks do, and then the other factor to fact would be the truck court events, which I'm categorizing, rolling in together the series of high-level events that occur, which would be backup alarms, which despite exemption are fully included in the model. We also are including coupling to coupling, which is when trailers connect and disconnect. And the other major noise event in truck courts is the air brake release. So when vehicles turn off and they dispel the pressure that they've been holding up for their operation. Okay, next slide, please. So here's the result of our model, just showing the HVAC equipment. So every blue plus you see in the center, that's our building. Every blue plus signifies a mechanical equipment, whether it be an exhaust fan, a condensing unit, a rooftop unit, et cetera. Significant number of them, as we talked about, 168. Despite their quantity, there are not a very heavy presence, and with the 1,000-foot plus distance at play here, the distance really comes in, and sound is heavily attenuated as it falls off. What we see in the model, looking around the perimeter, are receptors that represent nearby residential vantage points. So we see A through G. The picture is oriented much like our other presentation exhibits, that north is to the left. And if we go around, we're showing maximum levels anywhere from 32 up to 38. Again, significantly below that 51 threshold. This is also such a low level that there's doubtful that it will even be audible. The model also shows color contours, which are going to be representative of site sound strength, similar to the photometric lighting charts that we talked about earlier. So if you're looking at in close to the building, we have levels that are going to be in the 45 dBA range, but then they turn to green and fall off further and further with distance, such that they match the levels that are shown in our legend in the bottom left corner for those specific locations. Next slide. Now here's the bigger interest here for all those attended. We have tried to amass a very active site to represent a busy time for a worst case scenario. We have over a dozen truck sources that are modeled here. We heard through the traffic testimony earlier that we would expect on average about 10 trucks per hour. That is also something that we look at, but remember factoring in the time domain that if it's 10 trucks over the hour, they're going to distribute in across that hour. So what we've presented here as a model of showing a dozen trucks all producing their maximum level at the same time is highly conservative, because we wouldn't expect this to be the snapshot in time when we pause it. We would expect that if we were to play a video here and see it, that the trucks would kind of come and go across that hour period and eventually producing the maximum levels that are shown here, but just not synchronized in the way that we've shown. Running around the site, all the green pluses are driving trucks. All the white pluses are what we would call the truck events. We've placed them so that they are in a segment of the site, so that they're closest to offsite receptors. So you can see that to the southeast, we have two trucks that are in the southeastern truck court area to show be conservative in their influence to the areas around location B. We also have some up in the northeast to again influence location A. And then on the western side of the site, which is where the interstate is, and location G, that's the personnel, so we don't have any truck court activity there. But we did make sure to model some truck activity at the guardhouses for the primary and secondary guardhouses. This model, in looking at it in its full form here, maximum offsite levels generally in the mid 40s for most locations. We see the highest influences at locations E at 49, which is really influenced by the trucks on the driveway there. So once they're on, they'll be on public streets as they enter the site, but they don't need to be that far into the site before they no longer become an influence in the surrounding area and are well below applicable local and state noise codes. No mitigation measures are required here with sufficient distance. We're not proposing anything like sound barriers or other mitigation techniques. Everything is taken care of with distance and then with the natural buffer that's to be left. Next slide, please. So just a summary slide. We saw that the HVAC equipment, which is going to operate 24 hours a day, that there is a considerable margin of compliance with the local and state limits. We also saw that when the site is fully active with trucks in a conservative number, that again, there are no concerns with us being able to comply with those applicable limits, regardless of the fact that the state provisions specifically exempt mobile trucks or mobile vehicles from those code limits. My practice as a consultant here, we want a successful project, and to have a successful project, we need to make sure that we have as minimal of an impact on the surrounding area. And so I would advocate that this is represented by a good design here, good location, and that the site is able to operate in conformity with the surrounding area. We didn't focus in our discussion here about unloading, specifically in the sound model, but we know that those produce levels that are lower than what we've modeled, and so they'll be subsumed within the conclusions that we've made. And that given the presence of the interstate and how we're trying to have the site design and traffic study have been shown to keep our vehicles as close to and get on the interstate as quickly as possible in the shortest distance, we're going to have that be a strong role in having the site blend in with existing traffic that's already along the interstate. And then based on the foregoing and all of our modeling and analyses here, that we won't have any negative impact from this project, on-site project. Any questions?
So are you saying that, so if you're down here in the valley, you're not gonna hear any noise from up there, nothing echoing down, because you're up on a hill, an elevation, and that noise isn't gonna carry down here at all? I mean, especially the backup alarms, I know you can't do anything about that, but I know where I live, I'm here in Frito-Lay, I live out there, I live on the other side of the highway quite a ways, well, it's by Blueville. And you're not familiar with that, doesn't mean nothing to you, but it's about 3 miles, Brian, probably, something like that. And it's a complete valley from me to them. So I clearly can hear them.
Let me unpack a couple things there that you touched upon. So first is the model is completely three-dimensional. We take into account the fact that we're elevated with respect to some areas. It looks at meteorological conditions, so it's looking at a wind, it's looking at all those effects to understand how the sound is going to propagate off site. So all of the results that we've shown factor that in. Now the other thing that you touched upon was audibility. And
is what?
Audibility, the ability to hear the site. Audibility is going to be based on a lot of factors that are variables that are more challenging to consider. One is going to be the presence of ambient. One is going to be the sensitivity of the receptor. And so those are things that I'm not, as an engineer, I'm not able to fully understand. But what I want to take off the table is whether something's audible or not does not mean it's impactful. What we compliant with the state and local code limits and being 51 or below, that's designed to be well below the threshold of annoyance. They're set to be protective of the public. And that meeting those allows me to readily support that we're not going to have a negative impact. Audibility is going to depend on a bunch of other factors, but I think the focus of this site location, the selection, the distance it affords to residential receptors, that all that on-site activity is not going to be a nuisance for the surrounding area.
But it's still a negative neighborhood impact.
I'm not following your logic. Why would that be?
Because of the sound being carried across. I mean,
we've
when you go up along 395 north, you get on that exit ramp, it's clear, there's a whole section there that's clear up to the fieldway. So I don't know where exactly your building's gonna be placed in regard to where I'm thinking, okay? But you got a wide open area or field with a minimal amount of trees to help buffer the sound. So, you know, I am saying that I expect to hear a lot of that noise, no matter what.
We touched
To
upon
carry through.
audibility. To give you some greater comfort, in the model, we have not taken an appreciable consideration for the vegetation in place. During the winter, majority of trees lose their foliage. I'm not relying on that to achieve the results in our model. So that there's not an invisible factor of safety here that will suddenly change depending on our season. What we're trying to use is a conservative approach to show that we readily meet and are below the applicable limits, and that, in my professional opinion, that it's sufficiently protective for the public, despite what the non-experts might protest.
Wow. All I'm saying is that I think there maybe needed some more buffering, at least in those bald spots there, to help defer the sound maybe up north, upward. So coniferous type trees or something in there
So to your
fill
point,
it in.
so to your point and concern about releasing the horse from the barn and then having regrets, if you will, sound barriers are not currently proposed. If that was something that was deemed warranted in the future, it's something that would be able to be visited. If it's a belt and suspenders approach, if you will, because I don't feel that it's needed in order to fully comply. I don't feel it's needed to, result in not having a negative effect. But there are available down the road if for some reason I was proven to be speaking incorrectly at a turn up here.
Well, I'm not questioning your intelligence. I'm just going through experience. We've been through this with Frito-Lay, so it's not the first time we've dealt with this and the noise that it carries across. All right, so there was we needed and required a lot of buffering for the noise, to help buffer that noise. We had a lot of people at the lake. We deal with them guys, and I don't know, this seems to help with the buffering and the noise over there.
A lake, you said?
The Alexander's Lake, it's
We're not dealing with a leak in this situation, but I'm familiar with the effects of that.
it's just the noise traveling across.
It can.
That's what I'm saying.
And if one was present in the vicinity, it would have been part of our analysis and considered, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
can I just ask you to clarify your question about the direction that you're referring to?
I'm just looking at it, is that you're on an elevated area up there, right? You're on the top of a hill. The sound tends to carry across the open valley as you're emitting. It's, I would think logically that it's going to carry. I know, like I said, I'm really just passing on experience from my own personal experience, who I live in a valley across that goes down to Frito-Lay, which is about 3 miles apart. I can hear the backup alarms quite clearly, not all the time. Like you said, it sometimes carries with the sound of winds maybe. I don't know. I don't pretend to be an expert by no means. I just know that I can hear that. I mean, I hear the loud bangs, and sometimes I'm not sure what it is, but my guess is it's the plates that they drop down for a forklift to go across into the trailer. I can hear that, and that's, I'm
Well, I
guessing
think-
3 miles away, so.
If I could try to help your comfort level, the limits that are provided, right, that we're talking about, the 51, they're designed exclusive of the ambient. So these are levels that are deemed to be of a sufficient magnitude that they're not going to result in awakenings at night, they're not going to result in disturbances across the nighttime hours. And so while they might be audible in lulls in the surrounding area, that doesn't correlate to them being problematic.
Let me ask the engineer something. When, in your drawings, I was reviewing them, so I was late. Was there a cross-section showing, the actual parking lot, the buildings, and any growth that you've got proposed? I know you have some tree growth.
You're jumping ahead in the presentation. Yes, yes, we do have those cross sections, and
I didn't notice them in the
yeah,
plans.
they're in your presentation tonight. We will get to those shortly as soon as we wrap up, and maybe we could look at those cross sections for your commentary. I wasn't sure if you were referring to the kind of the open meadow in Markover that exists to the north and east, or if you meant across the valley over 395. So
I'm talking right as you get on the highway. There's a,
West
I
of
guess
your
it's
site.
Baker Road, and when you go down Baker Road, it's like 2 houses, I think, if I remember right. And in that area, it's pretty open, and there's some trees, there's tall pines, but in the opening, a lot of opening in there.
Sure.
If there's any place that's opening, that's going to be the place.
okay, and the home on Baker is part of our application to be
Right.
removed. So, okay, we'll look at the cross sections, and if we need to cut another section, we can do that. We have 4 sections that we cut as part of the presentation tonight, and we'll gladly go through them.
We got another question about,
Just point of order, Mr. Chairman, so we're at 9:45?
exactly my next statement.
All right, so if we want to go to 11, we need to make a motion right now to extend this meeting from 10 to 11. We have a 10 o'clock cutoff in our bylaws. So, I
You need a
mean,
motion?
yeah, I mean, I'd make,
Make a motion that we extend
yeah, I'll second that.
to 11 o'clock.
And we do it, and it is a hard 11 cutoff.
Okay, I'm not a fan, but, okay.
You get the vote now.
That's right. All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor to extend the evening hours to 11. Any discussion on this? No? Okay, then I'll just go by a show of hands. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? You guys have it.
So,
Brian, I'm sorry, just to clarify, just for the public, that means that if we are still on this presentation at 11, everything else is continued to next month, correct?
Yeah, correct. Our bylaws have a hard stop at 11. We can't extend beyond that, so
No,
wherever
I
we
just,
are,
I
we
just want the
are.
public to be able to know.
Yep.
we have 2 more parts of the presentation. If you want to let us kind of just dive into them, they're fairly short. They're just about some building details.
Can I make, he stepped out, but I was gonna make a quick, just little, can we take like a 2-minute break for people
Okay.
to get up and stretch and go to the restroom? So we okay with that? Board, yes?
Yes. What
Motion,
happens to
okay.
time limits if
So-
it goes to,
We stop. So we got like a 2 to 3 minute break to come back.
and I'm destroyed. Diane is making noises like, let's get out of here. I don't want to miss any of this because we need ammo. This thing's going to be brutal fighting with the rest of the BSA-6. You know, I'm enraged. Well, wife says, we're out of here. Nice to meet you.
You better go with what she says. Yeah, same.
Well, you must be my son. You're Carl.
Yeah.
Carl's son.
Yeah.
Whoa, check it out. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Let's hope we can fight this. I'm gonna try to get a bunch of people to go to everybody to the west of 395 and mobilize for any future meetings.
Yeah, try to get
a great force. Maybe you'll make a difference.
And at least let them know we're watching.
Yeah.
We're here alone. They can't just slide it in there.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying
Well,
attention.
we wish each other luck.
I know. If I'm here, you're here, girl. That's it. I'm not leaving you either.
We gotta get back into business. So we got an understanding, you're gonna cut yours short or try to get it done?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, we have two people left to go, and the first is just a brief overview of the fire protection systems anticipated for the building, and then the second is building elevations and those site sections that Tim mentioned earlier.
Okay. We'll continue. He'll catch up. He had to walk to his other car.
This
He
is
can
Chris
introduce
Summers,
himself.
Good evening. Yep, like you said, my name's Chris Summers, registered fire protection.
K or C?
It's
That's on the record. I never mind.
Oh, okay. I'm a licensed professional engineer, fire protection engineer in New York State. I'm with the Harrington Group. They've been doing fire protection engineering for, they're in their 40th year. This building would be protected with a NFPA code-compliant automatic sprinkler system that has performance-based design, UL, full-scale UL testing in consideration for the sprinkler systems. It's powered by a independently powered diesel fire pump connected to a 250,000 gallon dedicated water fire storage tank. This fire storage tank can provide 2 hours of fire flow to the building sprinkler systems and hose demand. This building also has, on the last point there, also has a secondary water storage source that is within discussions with the fire marshal. We are providing another minimum 120,000 gallons for the fire department's use. This is in complete excess to the code requirement. This is for them to fight during the fire. This is for them to fight after the fire, after that 2 hour water would run out. And it's just something that we think is a redundancy that helps the robust already robust fire protection sprinkler system. It also is designed completely with a NFPA 72 audio and visual fire alarm that is throughout the entire facility. This fire alarm is for early response and notification to allow the patrons of the building to get out safely. And that's it.
Hey folks, my name is Thomas Hollins. I am principal at McGregor Associate Architects in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been part of this building design template use case for the past 14 years. This is, like our Amazon representative mentioned, this is the newest generation building, Gen 14. The building is essentially constructed of type 2B construction. Essentially, what that means, it's constructed with non-combustible materials. You can kind of see from the elevations, the exterior envelope, all high-performance materials and assemblies. It's assembled with fully insulated precast concrete panels. The roof assembly it's fully insulated with R30 insulation. It has a air and moisture vapor barrier and a TPO membrane that's fully encompasses the roof superstructure and overlaps to the parapets. You can kind of see from this elevation that there's some crenellations around the building. Those are rated stair enclosures as part of the means of egress system for the associates inside. That's the southeast corner if you want to go. So this is kind of the southwest corner. There's a couple one-story bump outs on the superstructure. This one here is allocated for additional storage cube within the building. Go to the next slide, please. This is the northeast corner, the front of the building. There is a one-story, a shorter one-story component kind of in the center of the building, and that's allocated mainly for HR administrative services. And then again, the superstructure inside is designated for storage and fulfillment. Any questions?
You want to go, John?
What about snow load? That's a huge roof.
It is a huge roof. Great question. So the structure is designed both to pick up all the snow loads. I believe it's 30 pounds a square foot in this area. In addition, it accounts for all drifting. There's an additional load capacity built into the structure for future solar. So the structure itself has the capacity for a significant load, including snow.
This is inaccurate, according to the topography.
So I have a question for you on the 53 feet height, 53-foot height for the building.
Yep.
If you read the zoning rules, it's 53 feet or 4 stories based on typical design, right? I'm not sure that would apply, that 4 stories would apply to your
Mr.
building.
Chairman, we're having a hard time hearing Mr. Card.
Excuse me. Can we keep it down a little bit? We're trying to get through this, please.
So the 53 height in relation to our zoning rules, right? So our zoning rules for business park does say 50 feet or 4 stories, right? Whichever is greater. But the 4 stories really applies to, I think, a different type of building, not a warehouse. So how do you reconcile that issue?
Well, we noted in our zoning table that the building is proposed at 53 feet. And what the regulations provide is that for every foot that you have in building height over 50, you have to add 5 feet to your side setbacks, building setbacks. Now, we exceed our setbacks by a large distance.
Oh, and I don't mean to correct, I understand that
So-
part, I read that part, but I don't know if the rule allows your building type to go above 50 feet.
We did not see any limitation on that in the regulations. It just says for building heights above 50 feet, add 5 feet of setback for each 1 foot. And we did that, and we've shown that we comply with that.
Okay, I'll get that question.
Okay.
It's a reference, I don't have it with me. You got 450?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, but it doesn't mention distribution centers.
But no, it talks about business park.
Oh, I got the business park here too.
Yeah, it's in 450, but it's a section on business park, I believe, and it's 50 feet or 4 stories based on standard story design. I think it's the exact language, right? But I don't consider your building 4 stories. It's one, because I assume it's one building straight up, right? It's a single story, right? So I'm not sure, again, because whichever is greater. So I'm not sure you can exceed the 50 feet. But again, I just pointed out as a question. You don't have to answer it. You can go look at it, see what your interpretation of the rule is. But at least I wanted to bring that up so it could be addressed because that's a major point. So again, just to make sure we get through everybody in the comments. So.
I don't see it in, because it just referenced back to the
Yeah.
450.
So you got 450.
That's the business park.
Oh,
Here's the one on the 450.
Okay, sorry, you can go on. I can look it up on my phone too.
Again, Tim Underco, professional engineer. Just following up on the chair's question about some cross sections, from the building, across the site, across adjacent properties, we cut 4 cross sections. So this is section AA going from our northern building wall to Mockingbird Drive. As I mentioned, when I ran through those dimensions very early on, from building to nearest residential home is over 3,000 feet. That's the dimension on the bottom there, 3,100 feet. Crosses existed wooded areas, and then this plan is true to existing and proposed topography. And you can see as grade rises from the residence on Mockingbird, it crosses our property line, continues to elevate slightly, and then grade drops as you go across the truck court over to the building height. And the building is screened completely by the existing vegetation and trees as well as the distance. So that is section AA. Section BB takes us from the northeast building corner to the home or the, cabin of the Markover Preserve on Cook Hill. That separation distance is 2,542 feet. Again, you can see existing vegetation as well as some of the existing openings that exist in the preserve today. The preserve is actively cleared to create those openings, and the expectation is with the conveyance of this land to the town for open space, those areas would regrow and fill in. But that is actively chopped and mowed as part of the hunting operation. And that in this section, you can see, again, proposed topography as you cross our property line moving to the right. We have a retaining wall, and the truck court actually sits down in grade from the existing grade. So that's, I believe, a 25-foot retaining wall that pushes the truck court and pushes the building roof down relative to adjacent existing grade. Again, the building is not visible through the tree line because of the over 2,500 feet of existing vegetation. We then go to section CC. This is a section from Mashantuck heading to the southeast building corner. Property line is that red line in the middle, and you can actually see the valley that's generated by Mashantuck Brook right in the middle of the section, and grade continues to rise up after you cross that brook heading to our site. And again, that kind of flattens out, and due to topography, existing vegetation, with the building height and the site improvements, they're not visible through that cross section. The last cross section is section DD. Again, this section is almost 3,000 feet across, and this is from home, I believe it would be approximately, the address would be approximately 245 Westcott. And here you're crossing Westcott Road and then climbing in grade as you enter the site, head up to the drive aisles and the front associate parking field in the building. Again, we've drawn a section line out of a second-story window, and the building is completely obscured through several thousand feet of existing vegetation. So wanted to show you these reflect real topography, real building heights, real existing tree heights, as well as home heights, to give you some perspective of scale of where the building is located relative to our surrounding uses.
So the one I'm concerned with is the one going towards the highway.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm looking
Yeah,
at.
we can cut a section for that. We didn't include it here, but again, the building would not be visible through the 1,300 feet of existing woods to a retaining wall. You then have the flat associate parking lot and the building pushed back from that, but we can draw a section and show you that.
If you could do that for.
Absolutely.
You're gonna be back next meeting anyway.
You got it.
right? One more. Yes.
Could you do one for Mashantuck Westcott intersection?
Sure. So a split between C and D?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sure.
Can't really,
Okay.
because there's close houses there.
I saw on your plans that it said, and I may be getting ahead of you, but it said Gabions being used for your retaining walls. What's the life design expectancy of a Gabion?
100-year. I mean, the retaining walls, it's stone in a
Yeah.
basket. Even if the basket wasn't there, the structure itself lives beyond it. So they are used for long-term.
I've seen them all along the New York
Yeah, they're
Thruway.
used on highway infrastructure. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all the slides we had for this evening. Thanks for your patience. I'll turn it back to Tom.
Yeah, we're,
450.6.
correct, I was just gonna say, to you,
Fourth bullet.
450.6.
Fourth bullet.
And the fourth bullet says, office buildings, research and development buildings, and warehouses and distribution centers may have a maximum height of 50 feet or a height sufficient to accommodate 4 stories in accordance with industry standards, whichever is greater, with the approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission. When a structure exceeds 50 feet in height, all required yards shall be increased by 5 feet for each additional 1 foot in building height over 50.
Correct. I don't think your building goes under the 4-story standard. It's 50 feet or 4 stories for industry standard. Yours is a single-story building in my mind. That's
Right,
fine.
so it would be, it still says 50 feet, and buildings greater than 50 feet are approvable with the additional setback. So I think this amendment specifically contemplated a situation like this.
Okay, I'm not going to say I disagree, but I don't quite agree with you yet, so.
Okay.
Again, because again, to me, the over 50 feet is if it's the 4-story piece, but
I
we're
guess
going to
if-
need to reconcile that, so.
Yeah, because the extra 1 foot of height wouldn't have any meaning. If it didn't apply to the 50-foot height, it would have no meaning. And of course, the regulation, we take it to that it means something, and that's why it's there.
Just pointing it out, and we can have attorneys
Thank you.
talk, but just
Thank you.
want to make sure we're on the same page with that one.
There's another, oops, sorry, hold on. No problem. There's another angle we should take a look at on that too, which is to whether that, whether the identified types of buildings, office buildings, research development buildings, warehouses, and distribution centers, those are only 4 kinds of buildings of many that can be approved in the district. It could be read that the 50-foot sets a hard and fast number for that category, and buildings that are higher, that are allowed to be higher are other kinds of buildings, but only if they meet the second standard. So we've got to study that a little more carefully.
Yes, so Mr. Chairman, we've concluded our presentation, and we would be happy to entertain more questions.
everybody ready for questions? I got a curiosity question, and that is, I need a map. I need property maps where it shows the building and then it shows to the north, I don't know, northwest, I guess. Yeah, that's close, I guess. So where your dark green is, you got that piece of property that's all joined in with the building. That is part of your site, construction site or whatever. And then the rest of that lighter shade, right there on the other side of that line, is the conservation area.
Yep. Abby,
this-
could you go to that one?
There you go.
That one.
Okay, my question is, now you got that blue line differentiating the two, but it goes right to the corner where you're not allowing access to that other parcel. And the town has land that goes beyond that down to Cat Hollow. So was there a particular reason why you didn't want to given access through that?
We have no issue with providing the access. The reason I think that the lines ended up the way they are is simply those are the parcels as they exist.
As they exist?
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying, because it just makes no sense to cut off one piece of conservation land from another piece of conservation land. Yeah, why
We-
not make it all contiguous?
We can look at a way to try to make that connection.
Okay. Also the roads in there. Now, as Ty and Bond had suggested, and it's something we usually do in the past, we've done, is have been drawing arrows on the roadways so that we got directions, so that there's no question about flow. Simple thing that sometimes is helpful. Any other questions from people? Turning radiuses?
Need an emergency vehicle turning radius map.
Under the architectural, there should be a floor plan. I know 90% of it's one big open floor space, but either I missed it or there should be a, is it in there?
Yeah, it's in the black and white
It's in the
drawing
part
set,
that I
yes.
knew I was late and didn't get here in time and I couldn't
Yes.
look at?
Yes.
Okay, I'll look at that when I get back. Let me look at some of these other things. I got one. Go ahead.
On the jellyfish filters, there was a statement made that you're gonna remove them, clean them, and put them back in. Is it possible, so whatever's in them filters, you're gonna put back in when you clean it? Is it possible to remove the filter, change it, take the old filter off site and clean it off site someplace?
So we've gotten this question during wetlands as well. The second part of cleaning the jellyfish is the use of a vacuum truck at the unit. So as you hose off the unit back into the concrete vault, you then vacuum all of the material that you have cleaned off of the jellyfish and that is trapped below the filters. So when the filters go back in, that vault is clean. And we can certainly, we prepared a slide for wetlands that kind of shows the order of operations for cleaning those filters. And there is a dirty side of the unit where water enters the system before it goes through the filters. There's actually like a stainless steel divider. That is where you hose off the filters. That then falls to the bottom. That is vacuumed out. When the filters go back in, everything that comes through the filters has been cleaned and treated. So the filters themselves have like a 3 to 5 year lifespan before they need to be replaced, but they're cleaned incrementally in between.
So everything's cleaned out
into a
When you do
concrete
the
vault,
filters. Okay.
and then you're there with a vac truck. So that vacuum truck also cleans the hydrodynamic separators, which are usually accessed through a manhole vault, or a manhole cover. Pull the cover off, vacuum hose goes in, just like you may see on the side of a highway when they're cleaning catch basins or manholes. The jellyfish system happens the same way, because the jellyfish vault also captures debris in the bottom, and there is debris captured on the filter. You keep all that in one spot, vacuum it out, and you now have a clean vault with clean filters in it.
And so about the material, where does it get this cleaned out?
It's taken to usually a sewage treatment plant. So wherever your vac truck, your McVac or one of those companies, they would have a contract with the sewage treatment plant. They would discharge like sewage waste.
Probably not Killingly's.
Well, yeah, with your moratorium, yes.
Okay. Earth filling and excavation regulations. That's a whole section that should be addressed. And what's the expected duration of construction?
I don't want to make up an answer, so I'd like to
Okay,
get
that
you.
would be appreciated.
Yes, I think I know an approximate, but I'd like to give you a real value.
Is it true that once this moratorium thing goes away and they're operational again, that you people intend to hook up to that system even though you're putting in another one?
To the sewer system?
Yeah.
If possible and the capacity exists, yes.
What do you mean it's possible?
Well,
Are you
it's-
going to do it or not? I mean, you're putting in a system that's expensive, obviously. Now, at some point, that plant's going to become operational again. Do you intend to hook up to it at that point? Or are you going to just leave it as is because it's already, because I heard that your intent was to hook it up regardless.
Which thing are we talking about hooking up to?
Pardon?
So I think the expectation is that the sewer moratorium in town could last a decade before the issues are resolved. So the on-site treatment plant would be connected to and operate for some number of years. If in 2035 town sewer capacity became available, we would transition from the on-site system to the town system.
Okay.
Does that
Now I
help?
understand your
Yeah.
intent.
Yeah, the only reason for the on-site system is because of the expected length of the moratorium and the time it would take the town to undertake the improvements to allow additional capacity. If this was a 1 year or a 2 year, we would likely not be talking about an on-site system. But I think the expectation is that this could be a decade before the town has capacity. Maybe your town staff would disagree on the timeline, but we don't think this is a 1, 2, 3 year resolution.
One of the things was as-built drawings that they brought up.
Of which component?
Of your existing, when your facility's done.
That's typical, yeah. We would. That's usually a requirement of kind of building permit closeout would be an as-built to show that you built per your approved plans.
Yeah, and were you planning on doing signage for the open space? Or were you leaving that for Donna and company at Conservation?
Yeah, at this point, the intent was conveyance to the town for
let them-
figure out how they'd like to manage it. And the same, I mentioned the expectation that with the end of the hunting activity on the Markover Preserve, that would be allowed to kind of grow back to native vegetation. There may be a desire by the town to maintain some open space, but we did not get into the details of that.
Explanation of the turnarounds and the snow storage. I think somebody else asked about the turnarounds. already?
Yep, vehicle movements, absolutely.
The process, would you have plans for the actual snow removal and the snow storage?
Yep, and we've provided some of that information to wetlands. We can certainly bring that forward and include it in our response. So we've not provided a response to that tie and bond letter, but we will, prior to our return, make sure that we have all those items addressed.
Any other questions from commissioners at this time?
Just a quick one, why different widths on the roads? You go 20 some areas, you go down to 16, you go down, why not leave it all 20?
We like to have 16-foot lanes on any roadway that a tractor trailer would travel on. That lets us make sure that, to your vehicle movement comment, we've evaluated these driveways to make sure we don't have any places. This is not a straight driveway. There are bends and turns. We didn't discuss it, but a big part of our application to wetlands is we have 5 on-site bridges so that we can cross the existing wetlands and water courses. And we wanted to make sure that the vehicle movements do not cross the on-site double yellow line as they make turns. So that requires some modulation of the lane widths to make sure that a truck making a bend stays completely in its lane and doesn't cross the double yellow. So 16 foot is our minimum for anywhere we have a truck. Vehicle lanes could be as narrow as 10 at some intersections, but we typically keep those at 12 to 15 on site.
But you got emergency vehicles moving on those same roads.
Yes, and a
Most
track.
of the time, it's 20 feet.
Yeah, we can come back. Whoops, sorry. We can come back and show you those movements, but certainly anywhere that a tractor trailer can stay in its lane would not be a problem with emergency vehicles. But we can run ambulances, fire trucks, all that kind of stuff, just to confirm.
Where the God Shack is and where the gates are, it's 9 feet wide. So
Okay.
take a look at that.
You got it.
Yeah, also there was, again, maybe I didn't see it on the plans, but is there a signage detail, all the locations, what the signs are?
No, we typically include signage as a separate application as required, and this would focus on the site layout and site plan.
Brian, you got something?
So just one thing at a time, Bond, I didn't see them reference it, didn't want to go through everything, but compliance with 530 parking, can you just make sure you guys touch upon that too? Section 5, Ty and Bond went through and make sure you provide, everything to make sure it complies, but just 530 parking, just double check it for us.
I think they may have had comments on like the breakdown of spaces, maybe between motorcycle and
There's certain design requirements in 530, just
Okay.
make sure you hit those design requirements.
You got it.
And then just an operational question for Mr. Griggs. Regarding, because I see this in Johnston, I wanted to know how you're going to handle this, but you see in Johnston at the entrance facility on the truck side, you see a lot of tractors parked on the side of the road, early morning hours and late evening hours. I don't know if it's because the hours of operation, how that differs. Can you just explain the hours of operation in this facility, how that may differ from Johnston, if it's the same, and how will we avoid tractors parking on the side of the ramp going in? Please. Or if you want to address an operational outline, that's going to be submitted to us later. But that's something key, because you see that in Johnson, they're backed up all the way to Route 6, so.
I mean, in general, I'd like to see you just address some of the more of the major issues that Ty and Bond has presented. And I think maybe that would just answer most of our questions, I think.
Yeah,
At this point.
we'll provide a full response to their letter. Absolutely. We've been doing the same thing, working through that process. They had a comment letter for wetlands, and we've just wrapped up the response to those and have incorporated plan revisions where appropriate to improve things. So yeah, absolutely, we'll take care of
Don't
that.
tell us you're buddies and you're having coffee and donuts every morning, because then it doesn't look good.
That's no.
Okay, you want to, we don't need to do anything, right?
You need to continue it to May 18th.
Just make a motion, we need a vote. You're all set then for now? All right, and we want to make that motion?
Make the motion to continue it to next month.
Second? John seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? None. Okay, thank you. All right.
The meeting is not over, but we're just waiting for people to leave, if those want to leave now, before we get on with the rest of the agenda.
Moratorium Zone Text Change Application 261365, Michelle Murphy and Lisa R. Danberg request a moratorium on warehouses and distribution centers, etc., with a request for a zone text change amendment. Continued from March 16th, legal opinion procedural outline, scheduled hearing date, suggested date, May 18th. If Mr. Slater could just help us out a little bit with the
Sure.
process.
All right, so an application can be filed to the commission, as we talked about. My comments in the workshop session were not intended to talk about anything that was actually on the agenda. It was training regarding, the different kinds of applications that you might see, and I was talking about hypotheticals related to that. I was specifically not talking about any specific application that was actually pending before the commission, like this one. So a member of the public can file an application to ask for an amendment to the zoning regulations. Connecticut case law has determined, or cases have determined, that a commission can adopt, it has to be relatively narrowly tailored, but can adopt a moratorium. It's a regulation change, but it applies for a limited period of time that would prohibit certain kinds of, processing of certain kinds of applications while the commission undertakes an analysis and review of regulations to do that. We don't think, my ultimate recommendation to you is, while I think that if the commission were to adopt the regulation change, the language would need to be tightened up above what was presented in this application, I do think the commission has the discretion and frankly should schedule that request to a public hearing, because your commission does have the ability, when an amendment for regulation change comes in, you can modify that after you've heard from the public. And you can deny it too. But my recommendation would be to go ahead and schedule a public hearing. And I can work with staff in terms of how to have a reasonable notice of what's being proposed, because the request is a little long for the purposes of notification. But my recommendation is that you proceed on their application and schedule it for a public hearing, and then I can give you some more advice in terms of options available to the commission when you have the hearing, if you accept my recommendation.
So would the revisions be taken care of by the next meeting, or you're gonna need 2 meetings?
If you agree with that, my recommendation would be tonight to go ahead and advise, staff when you'd hold a hearing on that, and then, immediately, not tonight, but in the next day or two, I can work with staff in terms of what the meeting notice would look like, what the hearing notice would look like. But you have time too, because it is it's a legislative action, so that you have, you have, if you wanted to work through and see language that would be proposed for the public hearing at the next meeting, we could do it that way too. Either way, you can either leave it to me and staff to come up with language for the notice, or I can work with staff in terms of what I think the language could look like for you to consider at the next meeting and schedule for a public hearing a month later, whatever is your druthers.
I have a question. Since this is an application brought forth by a private party and not by the commission, are we under a time frame to start this hearing, as we are under other applications, or is it just because it's still legislature that we're not? I need to verify that.
So the rules for processing the application, which is this 65, 35, 65-day rule for a regulation change, applies on the one hand. On the other hand, because it's a legislative action, regardless of whether it's whether it's a private party or whether the commission puts it forth, failure to meet those deadlines are only directory guidelines on that kind of an application. There's no consequence. So if you needed more time and you weren't able to open the public hearing within 65 days of receipt, that doesn't result in an automatic approval of the zone change. So if you needed more time, you can take it. The statute applies, but it applies in a way that's been decided by the courts to be directory rather than mandatory, as opposed to a site plan or a subdivision, which if you miss the deadlines, it's mandatory and the application can be automatically approved.
Would we need the applicant to agree with us, or is that?
I always recommend that if you want more time and you're not able to open up under the statutory deadlines, that you get the consent of the applicant for it.
Mr. Chairman, so just a procedural question too, because this says moratorium with a request for zone text amendment. Can they be separated? So i.e. there was a moratorium request and then the zone text is separate, so i.e. a moratorium gets issued or whatever for certain procedures as we work through a separate zone text thing that's maybe initiated by the commission later.
The way, a moratorium is a text change itself, and so the consideration of other text changes in the regulations related to the moratorium would happen later, wouldn't happen at this hearing. I think the only thing you do at this hearing is, do you adopt the moratorium, which is in and of itself a text change.
All right, thank you.
Shouldn't we have some discussion? In other words, if we bring this thing next month up, wouldn't it be proper to first have a discussion on it before proposed changes are recommended by council or, and the chair of planning and zoning? Shouldn't we have a discussion on this first, among ourselves as well as the public? And then address whether or not.
No, but isn't that what we're doing? We're scheduling it for we're scheduling
Yes,
for,
but
for
we're
public
also,
hearing.
according to Mrs. Slater, saying that they're gonna draft up proposed changes. That's almost bringing something to the table for approval before we've discussed what the issue is and what we feel the remedy is. The public, let them say what they feel a remedy is, as well as members of the commission.
Do we speak at all, or we wait? So I'm a little confused too, because I thought tonight I would probably be getting your suggestions on tightening it up, and then we would go from there. And if we didn't get the suggestions on tightening it up to be legally better to carry this out, that we would get an extension. So to me, I agree with John. Like if you just, suddenly get it that day and you look at it and you decide you're going to take it or not take it, like I'd rather, I'm open to the process. I think it's very important. I'd rather see a refined thing that the public gets to see with your expertise. And that's how I thought it was going to happen. If that doesn't happen, then we'll do it the other way. But why not have the public hearing when you've got a nice, tight thing that maybe you think, this might make sense? So that's how I feel.
Mr. Slater?
Yeah, all I was going to say, what I was suggesting was not exactly along, I think what either you're saying is I wasn't proposing that I would amend what you were proposing to do. It was more to translate this into what needs to be going into the newspaper, because it's really not drafted like it's a legal notice. But I think your invitation, which would be for me to provide that language to you in advance of the next meeting, if that's acceptable to you, then I can have something to you so that then we can do what, I mean, it's a late in the evening too tonight. Maybe we'd have an opportunity, you'd see that, we could have a dialogue before we get back before the commission, and then next meeting, the commission could theoretically schedule it for hearing. That's one possibility.
I just want to clarify something too. It's, what we're looking at, so what you're saying is that we'd actually be dividing it into two. Number one would be the moratorium, and then number two, that would open the discussion for the additional text change. Is that what we're aiming for? I'm just trying to figure it out myself, because
No, that's not what I am. This is the text change. So that's why I feel like for the public hearing, you go through it, we talk, together before the public hearing and say, well, we want it to be more tight. There was some question about all warehouses are just distribution centers. Like, what is the real objection here? And that's where they said legal would come in. And by this meeting, which doesn't mean it's not bad that it didn't happen, but by this meeting, when I came before you, I'd say, okay, this is a little tighter. And then we schedule a hearing and people know exactly what they're coming for. And we've had your input as to, so I don't know.
So go ahead.
Can I say something? When we did the subdivision moratorium, we did a moratorium, and then we came back, we had the public hearing, and then we did a moratorium, so there was no more subdivisions until we rewrote the regs. So then we took time, because it always takes time, to rewrite the regs. And that's, to me, that's a
That's
separate,
what I
a
was
separate
thinking.
public hearing
That's
at
what
that
I was
point.
thinking.
That would be a separate public hearing on all those amendments.
So then, but that would require, because it's an applicant, she would have to change that to just be in moratorium and then two phases? Or if, because she got all in one, we have to act on it as all in one?
No, I mean, I think we can work together on this, but what I envision is you have to get the moratorium in place. In theory, you get the moratorium and everybody advocates for it, but the commission says, no, we don't want to do a moratorium, then you don't need to go to the next step and start looking at the specific language changes that are done. So the first step is, should there be a moratorium in place? And that opens the door up for working with what the amendments might be, and then there'd be another hearing down the road during the moratorium period on the new thing. So all I'm proposing is to tighten up the language so that it's clear that what's going to come before the public hearing is the text change to put a moratorium in place of what
Yeah, that's why I agree with
applications
that.
can't, and that's
That's
it.
exactly what I
Now
was
understand
thinking.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just this text change. Yeah.
And so if it works for the commission and the applicant, and it sounds like it does, I can work with them on tightening up what that language will look like in advance of the next meeting.
Yeah.
So when would the public hearing be? Would that be next meeting, or we would have
Be the
a
one
discussion?
It would be the one after that.
Okay.
That would, that would be for the moratorium, or?
Only the moratorium, that's all we're talking
Yeah.
about, is the moratorium.
Okay.
Because honestly, the next meeting,
Mike.
you should be able to turn it on in there. The next meeting should be, there's quite a bit on the agenda.
Right, so it's probably not a great night for the public hearing anyway.
It'd be June 15th, would be the June meeting.
But would we receive it May 18th? Receive the updated language May 18th?
Receive it,
Right, and schedule for public hearing the following month.
Exactly.
Okay, so I couldn't quite hear you. So we receive it May 18th, and then June, we would have a public hearing after discussion, right? Yeah.
Correct.
I like
Are
that.
you agreeable to that, Michelle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's exactly, no other text changes,
No,
those much later.
Just the moratorium.
Yep.
Yeah. Just so that I'm clear, we're gonna have a public hearing on whether or not there should be a moratorium. And then, if it's decided, then we go
Correct.
language,
Yeah,
okay?
that's
All
right.
Because I'm gonna say something that's gonna send everybody home, feeling fuzzy. There's a lot of people in town that probably think we should leave it as is, okay? So everybody should have a chance to come in here, as well as the people that are in here today that are opposed to it, state what they feel, and we can go forward.
Very good.
So I'm just going to give you a little bit of feedback then. I think we're on the same page. So, because the language here is both a moratorium and a rewrite, adding conditions, we're getting rid of those conditions, just straight up moratorium on whatever sections they deem appropriate. Leave that to the applicant. So you need to identify which sections of the rules you want to put a moratorium on, because it's not clear in here which section of the rules, just general says, business park,
You mean
general
422, 435, 436?
You need to specifically list them, yeah.
Yeah, they're there. But that's okay, I'll work with them.
Where?
Yeah, definitely.
Where are they? Am I missing?
So we're set then? Okay, thank
We're
you.
continued to
So
May
we need a
18th.
motion for this?
Yes.
We do? Are we
Yeah.
receiving it now, or are we receiving it now? Well, I mean, you tell me what you want me to do.
It'd be the applicant consenting to an extension, and then just procedurally, we would ask for that in writing, like tomorrow, if you could give us like an email or something
Okay.
consenting to that extension.
Yeah, good.
You haven't opened up the hearing yet.
Microphone.
Is your normal practice that you do a motion even though the hearing hasn't been opened up yet and we're doing some preliminary stuff, you'd still do a motion to move it to next meeting?
Because with the motion underneath, if it's an applicant and it's a private party, we usually, from what I understand, we have to open up the hearing within 65 days, but because we're extending it out another 35, we have to do it with Michelle's permission. That's the
And-
way I read it.
No, that's Jonathan made that point that we'll get confirmation for the extension, but in terms of the commission voting, it's whatever your normal practice is. Sometimes the matter will just stay on the agenda without a motion. If you normally would move it to the next meeting with a motion, do what you ordinarily do. There's no, but if we could get the confirmation of the extension in writing through the land use office, through the applicant, that would be great.
We usually have one.
So the motion's gonna be to what?
So,
Continue it to the next meeting.
Continuation. Can I have a motion to continue, please?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
consent, yeah, as long as it's with consent of the applicant.
I concede.
John's, and he also said that it's with consent of the applicant. I don't know if you heard that, right?
What?
With consent of the applicant, right? Consent of the applicant.
I guess.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, or abstentions? Okay. Site plan review application 261369 no, what? What did I miss? Special permit application number 261368 Killenly 1 LLC, 90 Putnam Pike, GIS map 89, lot 22, 54 acres, general commercial. The project proposes 2 new distribution centers totaling 467,500 square feet of gross floor area with associated loading bays, trailer parking spaces, employee parking, access drives, stormwater management systems, retaining walls, septic systems, utilities, landscaping, and lighting. Receive, determine if a third-party review is necessary, and schedule a public hearing. Suggested date, May 18th, 2026.
Question is, you've received most of the application, do you want a third-party review?
I do.
I thought we had determined that.
We had said at the last one, but it was a new application.
Yeah, this is a new application.
So it's a new application, so we'll start over. Everybody you want a head count, or you want to just make a motion and say? Make a motion and say it.
We have a independent.
Third party. He's making a motion for the third party. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mike Hugo. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay. Now, receive. We need a motion to receive it and schedule.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to receive the application and schedule a public hearing for May 18th, 2026.
Have a second? John seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay.
Done.
All right, now, concrete.
Concrete.
Site plan review, application 26-1369, Concrete Felix LLC, Junior Avenue Holdings, landowner. Both organizations are a subsidiary of Carbon Built Incorporated, 42 Junior Avenue, JIS map 269, lot 24, 12.8 acres, light industrial. Proposes the installation of additional silo capacity at an existing concrete production facility. Receive, and if the commission agrees, it can be referred to staff. Any questions, motions?
Refer to staff.
Make it a motion.
I'll make a motion that we,
Refer it to staff.
Receive and refer to staff.
26-1369 be referred to staff.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose or abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Passes. He abstained. He wants to recuse.
You wanted to recuse, right?
Yeah. Is it different?
That's different, yeah. Just, I heard you say that, so he wanted to recuse from that one, not abstain.
What's the difference?
The recuse, he's not voting at all, right?
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Usually you recuse yourself if you're not qualified or you have a conflict or
Right.
something of that nature. Abstain is if you've, you don't vote. I was gonna say something
Okay.
about courage, but I stayed away from that.
Never realized the difference, I guess.
Okay, so it's,
All right, subdivision application 26-1370. I'm gonna recuse myself on that one, so.
All right, don't abstain. Bernard Properties LLC, applicant landowner, 350 Hartford Pike, 3.01 acres, village commercial, receive and schedule for action, suggested May 18th, 2026. Questions, comments, deliberations? Nope. Okay. Go ahead, motion to receive and schedule.
Receive application 26-1370 and suggest, and schedule for action on May 18th.
All right, and that is a public hearing, right?
Correct.
It doesn't require a public hearing.
It's not, oh, it's a subdivision, not a re-subdivision.
It's a subdivision,
Okay.
and the subdivision that's being proposed is quite simply a line.
Yeah,
There's no,
right.
no
I was
action.
thinking it was a re-subdivision, sorry. So it's
Yeah.
just subdivision. So no public hearing, just action on May 18th, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
okay.
Okay, section 824 review, application 26-1371, Town of Killingly, Oldendale Park, 550 Hartford Pike, proposal for a walkway, 4-foot asphalt or concrete path to Oldendale parking lot from 550 Hartford Pike. Wouldn't that need action from the town? Shouldn't we have action from the town on that?
So it'd be 824 review, so like,
That's what we're doing
that's, the application came to you, I believe, is a referral from the Board of Rec?
From the Board of Recreation, yes, because
And-
it's a Board of Recreation property.
And then, so it goes in front of you as 824, and then you can choose to, essentially it gets sent on to the town council for them to weigh in on it, and that's a public hearing in that process. So 824 is just you looking at it. If you decided to
So it was
vote no, it
initiated
just
by
changes the vote.
Recreation.
Yes, Board of Rec.
Board of
And then
Recreation.
we do the 824.
We do the review, and then they bring it
if we
forward to the
say
town
no,
council.
it just means 2/3 vote by the council.
Yep.
Correct.
And the
Okay,
only
so
thing that,
somebody want to make a motion one way or the other for that? You gotta say it out loud, John.
Okay. Application 261371, Town of Killingly, Oldendale Park. Motion to
A second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Go ahead, Brian.
Mr. Morrow, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Essentially it's just it would be a request, or obviously it's on town property, Owenbell Park, but I think the intent would be that the developer of 550 would volunteer to pay for the installation of an asphalt or concrete path to connect between the parking lot and Owenbell Park to the sidewalk connection that was made behind 550, the sidewalk that's behind the building at 550 Hartford Pike. So, and then, once the sidewalk was constructed by the private developer on the public property, then the town itself would maintain and hold liability for those improvements in the future. I believe there is dirt, and Anne Marie, I might defer to you on this one. I think you said you may have taken it right out there, but I think there might be a dirt path or some type of gravel path. It might be informal to a point.
So I went there as staff and kind of noted that trail, walked in between the two properties. So I'm standing on Owenbell, facing the 550 property from these photos, and then these photos are standing, I believe, still on Owenbell property, but facing towards Owenbell Park. Because of some of the site work that was done in that area, it's not as defined, but it was noted on the 550 application when we looked at it, just the kind of a walking path and trail that existed even prior to the commercial development. So this is looking to formalize that walking path and make safer and more accessible the pathway between those two properties.
Comments? Motion, I guess. I don't know. To me, it looks like it's just another parking lot for the 550, but make a motion, somebody. Oh, I didn't hear him. Maybe I'm just behind the 8 ball here.
I made a motion to move the referral.
That's what happens when I stay up late. Okay, no more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Adoption of minutes, special meeting, February 17th. Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve special workshop meeting minutes of February 17th.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Special meeting and training, March 11th.
That was just a list of attendees, but
Sorry?
it's basically a list of the attendees of the meeting.
Oh,
Make a motion to approve the special meeting of March 11th.
have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed or abstention?
Well, if I wasn't there, should I abstain or just vote yes?
You can abstain. Abstain's fine.
Generally abstain. There's a provision of FOI, if for some reason your commission turned over, so you literally couldn't approve minutes unless people approved them, even if they weren't there, you couldn't. But as long as you've got a quorum of people who were there, it's better to abstain.
Okay, I'll abstain.
Regular meeting, March 16th. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with one correction. Page 2 of 8, bullet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sixth bullet down where it says an unidentified person asked questions, I would like to identify that person as Barbara Yater of Putnam Pike.
I believe it was Barbara. I can't swear to it, though.
Oh, it was, because she spoke at the meeting prior. And just put her name in there because that was a key bullet in my mind.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Second.
Oh, I,
Second.
we ain't got a second?
No, you need- no, there you go.
Okay, we got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? I am abstaining because I wasn't here. So I could still continue it, right? Okay. Correspondence? Somebody, anybody got a question for correspondence? Departmental reports, zoning,
None.
inland wetlands, and watercourse?
All those minutes are available. I can only say in regards to ZBA, we will be having a meeting next month. We have 2 applications.
Economic development,
I'll give my report next month.
town council liaison?
If I still have a voice, the council had 2.5 sessions working on the budget. It was felt strongly that we should bring in a budget that was as low as possible. We realized a lot of people are struggling, so we brought it in at just a mill increase for the board and the town. 2 members of the council felt that we didn't put enough money into education, so. That's my report.
Thank you. Adjourn, motion,
Motion to adjourn.
second,
I'll second.